I don't know, baseball is probably the next thing. It's Hamilton.
Good evening. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, and adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by notice as the Asbury Park Press, the 2 River Times, and the Star Ledger, and posted in the main lobby of the municipal building and on the municipal website. OPMA authorizes municipalities to conduct public meetings through use of streaming services and other online meeting platforms. The Red Bank Council is meeting in person as well as providing an option for the public to participate via Zoom video meetings. Please note that the option to attend is being provided as a courtesy. Therefore, if Zoom becomes unavailable during the meeting, if it cannot quickly be fixed, Council will continue with the remainder of the meeting. For those joining us via Zoom, please raise your hand during designated times to be recognized for a comment. Whether you are appearing in person or via Zoom, you must provide your name to be recognized. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm actually gonna, let me get that here. You're welcome to sit or stand either way, but we're gonna just have a moment of silence for a couple of Red Bankers. CJ Laverette, longtime firefighter, passed last week, and I'm sure everyone knows we had a terrible tragedy where a young man named Frank Luna Santa Maria lost his life crossing the street on Bridge. So if we could just have a moment of silence for both of them, I would appreciate it. So please, Monica.
Councilperson Ponatakis. Here. Councilperson Kelsey.
Present.
Councilperson Vice Blackburn. Here. Councilperson Forrest.
Present.
Councilperson Jerome.
Present.
Councilperson Trigiano.
Here.
Mayor Porter.
Here. Right, we have a few proclamations. You want to pass those over? Thank you. Thank you. First up, it is Immigrant Heritage Month, June. Whereas generations of immigrants from every corner of the globe have built our country's economy and created the unique character of our nation. Whereas immigrants continue to grow businesses, innovate, strengthen our economy, and create American jobs in Red Bank, New Jersey. Whereas immigrants have provided the United States with unique social and cultural influence, fundamentally enriching the extraordinary character of our nation. And whereas immigrants have been tireless leaders, not only in securing their own rights and access to equal opportunity, but have also campaigned to create a fair and more just society for all Americans. And whereas despite these countless contributions, the role of immigrants in building and enriching our nation has frequently been overlooked and undervalued throughout our history and continuing to the present day. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, proclaim that the Borough of Red Bank does hereby join the state of New Jersey in recognizing June 2024 as Immigrant Heritage Month. Okay, next up it is Pollinator Week. Whereas pollinator species such as birds and insects are essential partners of farmers and ranchers in producing much of our food supply. Pollination is crucial in more than 1,200 food crops and provides nourishment to nearly 200,000 different plants that yield various oils, cotton, clean air, seeds, and vegetables. In fact, 1/3 of the nation's food supply depends on pollinators. And whereas pollinators include bees, wasps, sawflies, butterflies, moths, beetles, flies, and vertebrates like some birds and bats, responsible for helping 90% of the world's flowering plants reproduce, pollinators contribute to healthy ecosystems. Whereas pollination plays a vital role in the health of our national forests and grasslands, which provide forage, fish and wildlife, timber, water, mineral resources, and recreational opportunities, as well as enhanced economic development opportunities for communities. And whereas pollinator species provide significant environmental benefits that are necessary for maintaining healthy biodiverse ecosystems. And whereas the Borough of Red Bank promotes wise conservation stewardship, including the protection and maintenance of pollinators and their habitats on working lands and wildlands. Now, therefore, in recognition of the importance of pollinators to healthy ecosystems and sustainable diverse agriculture, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, do hereby proclaim the week of June 17th through the 23rd, 2024 as Red Bank Pollinator Week throughout the borough, and call upon the people of Red Bank to join me in celebrating the significance of pollinators with appropriate observance and activities.
Yay, pollinators.
All right, and finally, we have a proclamation honoring Eagle Scout Maximilian Ansel. I did get to go to his Eagle Scout ceremony over the weekend, and it was lovely. Whereas Maximilian Ansel of Red Bank Troop 67 of the Boy Scouts of America has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas Eagle Scouts act as leaders and role models in the community, it takes years of dedication and commitment to achieve the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas the Eagle Scout Award is a distinction that will follow him throughout life and will be a beacon to others of the leadership, quality, and commitment this young man has shown. And whereas Maximilian Ansel has diligently planned, coordinated, executed, and presented the placing of signs in Fairhaven Fields to mark out indigenous trees being planted in an effort to repopulate the area with trees from native North America, such as the American maple and oak tree. With the assistance of volunteers consisting of family, friends, and other scouts, Maximilian built 31 handcrafted signs inscribed with the name of the tree and the Boy Scout emblem that will be installed in the near future. Whereas in the coming years, citizens and visitors alike will enjoy and appreciate the fruits of his labor. Now therefore be it resolved that I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, on behalf of the Red Bank Borough Council, do hereby congratulate and recognize Maximilian Ansel for his achievement of the rank of Eagle Scout. We are proud to have him as a member of our community. Okay, I think, Bob, you're up next. We're going to do a presentation for the River Center proposed 2024 budget.
And Bob, while we had you under presentations, I just want to make sure you're here just to present to the council, mayor and council, the overview of the River Center budget and just any changes from last year to this year, and you know, how you anticipate using the funds.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Zuckerman, the Executive Director. So I'm here to present that overview Mr. Gant just spoke about. Before I go into just the summary of the numbers, which I think you all had in your packet, I just wanted to clarify something, which is that what we're talking about here tonight is the assessment budget, not the complete full budget. And let me explain the difference. When I first presented the budget, my first year here to Tom Seaman, your CFO of the borough, it was the full budget that the board had passed. And he said, no, I'm not looking for that. And I said, what do you mean? He said, we're just interested in the assessment revenue and all the expenses that match up against the assessment revenue. So we put together an assessment budget based on his recommendation, his requirement, and we did the same thing this year. So when you see numbers on here, they may not be the full, that may not be the full amount of dollars, for example, that is spent on a particular program. And as some of you may know, we raise additional funds. We are a 501c3, so above and beyond the assessment dollars that we collect from our property owners, not the taxpayers, but our property owners, we do raise additional revenue. We get grants. We get corporate sponsorships for our events. We get money from other governmental entities like the County of Monmouth. So there's other monies that come in that make up part of the revenue, and that gives us a fuller budget than what you see here today. But I was asked to present on the assessment budget, and so that's what we'll do. So with that proviso, let me just go into it. So the revenue, the total assessment is $579,970. My understanding is that assessment budget has not changed in, I don't know how many years, but a number of years. it has held steady at that number for quite some time. And certainly since my time here, we have not asked for any increase in that assessment number. So we have our first item is administration and overhead. That includes things like our rent for our office in the visitor center, that's $42,000 a year. We have outsourced our accounting and bookkeeping services to the finance department at the BASI. So it includes that money, it includes the money for our annual audit, which we undertake every single year as required by the ordinance and the Department of Community Affairs. And then the balance of that number would be, payroll expenses. The second item is our streetscape improvement debt service. So every year we make two payments on two different loans. The first one is a $33,000 approximate payment loan got from DCA a number of years ago. That's for the English Plaza project that was completed a number of years ago when English Plaza was redone. River Center apparently had a hand in that. And then $19,000 loan from the borough itself for the White Street parking lot project that was also completed a number of years ago. So that makes up that $52,565 that you see on your budget there. Program staffing, that's essentially the staff. That's the people who do all the programming. That's myself. That's Tom Hanley, that's Lori Vakroth and Pio Segura, who does our maintenance and our street cleaning. And by the way, I just wanted to mention, it's not part of this budget, but we did hire an additional person to do maintenance on the weekends, especially focusing on the Broadwalk. So hopefully he started last weekend, so hopefully that's going to really keep that Broadwalk clean on the weekends because our person Pio does not work on Saturday or Sunday. So just wanted to throw that. Promotional events, things like our Red Bank Bucks promotion, Street Life that we have going on all summer long, which is about to start. The sidewalk sale, all the different girls' night out events that we do, the Halloween one, the St. Patrick's one, things like that. So it's all of those type of promotional events, and that came out to $20,000. But again, we probably spend more than that in our full budget. We don't just spend $20,000 a year on events, that's for sure. Marketing and promotion, that number is basically advertising, both digital and in print. We have year-round agreements with Red Bank Green and also with Tap into Red Bank. And we advertise from time to time in analog newspapers as well, 2 times, our press, especially for our public events. Broadwalk and landscaping. So the majority of that line item is, I'm not quite sure why our accounting put them together because they are different, but most of that money goes for landscaping. You're all familiar with Danielle Boyle, who we brought on last year, who moved the Grove to do the pilot project on Broad Street with all the beautiful flower gardens. Well, now she's doing more. So we have the same type of flower gardens on White Street, on Monmouth Street, and she's tremendous. She's really great and really makes the downtown, I think, really beautifies it. Business recruitment. So we are going to be working on I'm going to be working on a piece, a brochure type of thing for our commercial brokers. We're going to use the data that we get from Placer AI, which is a new software program, fairly new software program that we just subscribed to due to a grant that we received from Main Street, New Jersey. We received a $150,000 grant. So that grant award includes 2 years of the Placer AI software, and it's a tremendous GPS based software that can tell us where people are going, when they're coming, where they came from, where they're going to, what their interests are, demography, and it all comes from anonymous cell phone. So it's really quite remarkable.
That's terrifying.
Visitor services is a line item in for there. Most of you are aware that we had a visitor center for 23 years. Actually, the Red Bank Visitor Center has disbanded as a nonprofit, but that happened at the end of last year. But we still have Margaret Mass, who ran the Visitors Center, on with us 2 days a week. And so that's the line item for her work and visitor center work. Horticulture program, that is basically the flower pots that we have that many of our merchants buy into every year that we put around the downtown, as well as the hay racks. So that's where that line item comes from. Holiday decorations, most of that money goes towards our lighting during the holiday time and all our holiday decorations, which, you know, are significant. And also there are some funds there that probably go to, you know, the Holiday Express event that we do with holidays with Tim McLuhan every year on Broad Street, as well as the tree that's over in Riverside Gardens. Next item, art mural program. So there's $5,000 in there. We're going to spend more than $5,000 this year on murals.
Good.
Yeah, we are. I'm working on one right now on Monmouth Street. I should know more on Tuesday after the holiday, but I think it's going to be a go. And we'll write about that. We'll announce that. That's going to be really exciting. It's right across the street from the Basie. So it's a perfect location. And then we're scouting other locations and other artists. So we're going to take a good look at that. The board is spending more money on murals, and we're going to do that this year for sure. And then the last item is just our communications, and most of that goes for our MailChimp program, which is how we do all of our email lists. It's how I get out the Red Bank Beat every week. If you don't subscribe, please subscribe. I'm reading it, comes out every Thursday around 5 o'clock. And all of that totals $579,970. So that's, I hope, hopefully not too detailed of a summary, but a good summary.
Great. Anyone have any questions for Bob?
Sure do. So Bob, I appreciate you taking the time to put this whole budget together. Is there anything within your budget for my favorite thing to ask about? For bicycle parking?
Bicycle racks.
Yes.
Well, the answer is, I don't know that there's a specific line item just for bicycle racks, even in the full budget, but there is a general line item for sort of, I think we call it infrastructure.
Infrastructure?
Yes, and so like, for example, the new parklet that we're building on Monmouth Street, there is gonna, yes, 2 bike racks there, correct?
Parking for 2 bicycles.
Right.
Okay.
And we're looking for more opportunities to do that. So there's not a specific line item, but it's something that we should look at for next year, to actually put a specific budgeted item. The bike racks.
Dave, you take it. Ben.
Oh, a couple. So what's the entire budget addition that you get from grants and everything like that? I'm just curious.
Sure. So the entire budget, and I think I did. Here it is. The entire budget, revenue and expenses, $857,407.
You get a substantial amount of money in addition to what you raised through the state.
We do.
Okay. And as we've talked about, and I appreciate your accessibility, council. One of the things I get feedback on is there are some businesses that are not in the Broad Walk area, particularly that they perceive challenges because of that. So I was hoping you might, I was listening to you and you kind of addressed that in the content of your budget, but could you articulate a little bit about what we're doing to try to make the businesses that feel like they're outside of the, I've been on the board, I know a lot of the things that you're doing. But I'd like, if you don't mind, to say publicly the kind of things you're trying to do to accommodate those outside of the Broad Walk. So, because I know you're trying to promote the whole business section.
And we do. Thank you, Councilman, for that question. So one of the things that we're doing is actually something that you all do. And that's that to bring back the streeteries at a reasonable fee so that restaurants, for example, it's usually the restaurants that are that have the most challenges with Broadwalk, restaurants that are not in the Broadwalk. Between Front and One Street. So for those restaurants, you folks all brought back streeteries, about the original pricing from, I guess, 4 years ago, when the pandemic started. And there are several restaurants that are interested in the streetery program. So that's one thing, and that's something, we worked on with you, but that's really your doing. In terms of other items, we're definitely going to increase signage this year that, so that people on Boardwalk know that there are other restaurants. We'll do QR codes. We can't necessarily list every restaurant, but we can list it and draw it to our website, which will be coming in the fall. That's another grant that we received from the Main Street, New Jersey. So that's another area. We're doing a sign specifically for a specific sign just for the Mechanic Street businesses, because those businesses often feel left out. There's the 4 bollards there and they're like.
I love the record ride.
Yeah. That was a big necessity for introducing them to. That brought a lot of, and downtown was packed.
Guess what? One more comment, Mr. Mayor. So I just wanted to second Councilwoman Nancy Blackwood's comment on, we've been getting a lot of feedback at our office hours of council about, bike racks. I know it's on our administrator's agenda to do that from borough standpoint.
Right.
But I think that's, we want to encourage less car use in general.
Sure.
So I think it'll be great to have some, that being the plan.
Mhm.
That's it.
And we look forward to working with Councilwoman Blackwood and the rest of you on maybe some design concepts. And there's a lot of different ways that we can go with that. So,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thanks so much, Bob, for this. First of all, the traffic data sounds so interesting, the cell data. But I also, like Nancy, I think have like a pointed question that just came to mind as I was looking at this. Maybe it's also infrastructure. Something I've heard feedback on is like the refuse in the downtown area. Is there anything in here, or does that fall under any line item, either maintenance or improvement of that? And thank you for adding maintenance, it sounds like, as well.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Councilwoman. There isn't, there should be. I firmly believe that our organization should be investing in more and new trash cans in the downtown. That is something that we can partner with the borough on, but that should, that is, as well, everything we do is supplemental to what the borough does. But that's an important supplement and an important tool that we use to keep our streets clean. Deputy Mayor Triano sent me something about new pizza box recycling. They're not cans, they're
Whole pizza box,
cans.
because they're getting stacked on top,
Box.
getting stacked on top of the garbage can.
That's right. So we're thinking, I'd love personally to start, I have to bring this to the board, but I would love to purchase at least 2 or 3 of them. The Broadwalk, you could put one in front near the new parklet by Mr. Pizza would be a smart place to put that. And invest in those kinds of infrastructure improvements. So that answers your question.
Hey, first off, thanks for the presentation, Bob, and the plantings this year once again look great. And just as a note, I'm glad you're gonna put more money into murals, and I'm just gonna encourage whatever we're thinking about, let's try. We can stretch a little bit. We have some nice stuff downtown, but I'd like to see something different down there if we can, but I'm excited to see that. I'm just gonna make a comment on the bike racks. Let's move on this because it's we gotta get them throughout town, downtown, especially during Broadwalk. I just don't wanna keep sitting on something that would encourage people to keep coming downtown, especially when it's a pedestrian friendly season. So whatever you consider the next steps in encouraging and you want involvement with Councilwoman Blackwood, I volunteer myself as well. But we do need to move on that. It just got, we just don't have anything and we just need to work on it. But my question is, you mentioned the streeteries and you said there's a few interested. What's causing hesitation from pulling the trigger on those?
There is a little dispute currently about the barriers, the concrete barriers that you had previously with the streeteries. Apparently the word got out that the borough wasn't doing them this year. They weren't gonna put them out. And I first heard about this, I don't know, a few days ago, last week. I thought it would be just like it was in the past. Obviously, it's too much of a burden for a single restaurant to go and buy concrete barriers and get them installed. So that's something that I know from my work in Westfield, where I was prior to here during the pandemic. The police chief there mandated them. There was no way that he was gonna do.
Yeah, Bob, I'm unsure what the source was on that. I just want to make this clear for the press that's present. Our manager never stated that we weren't going to provide those barriers.
And I never suggested.
And you never suggested it, so that's the definition of a good old rumor.
Yeah.
So I just want to make it extremely clear to the restaurant owners and everybody that that was never a change directive. That was never said by him. We never stated we weren't going to provide the same things as years before. We're still providing those things. I don't understand where that rumor started.
I'd like to just answer something on that too, because I brought this up specifically just to let you know, because I did have a business owner say to me, why aren't you allowing streeteries this year? And I said, no, we passed something that they're all permitted. I don't know where. So we talk about communications and outreach, whatever you can do to correct this, because they're a value add to the town. People like outdoor dining. We intentionally created and carved out a space for them. So anything you and in your capacity can do to sort this out, and I've heard enough. But that's it's interesting you bring that up, but I literally heard that yesterday from someone and it's like, no, it's not the case.
He could have said at some point in time, but it couldn't have been,
Yeah.
as recent as.
I mean, it seems that like Bob said, it was brought to his attention, Bob brought it to my attention. Of course, I'm looking for the historical reference to
Yeah.
everything that comes up in the borough of Red Bank. But I anticipate by tomorrow, we have an answer for that.
That would be
And
great.
yeah,
That would
we
be-
talked about it just since early.
I have 3 or 4 ready to go.
Oh,
Yeah, I
So
don't anticipate an issue.
I'd love to get them out there.
Good.
And just actually to the contrary, Deputy Mayor, not only did it not come from Jim, but as soon as I heard this, I went immediately to Jim. He had not heard it either. So, know what I was talking about. So.
Thanks, Bob.
Bob, I just wanted to add, I really like the tangible work that River Center has been doing with the plantings, with the parklet, fully funding the parklet, fully funding the plantings. It's just really impactful work. It actually changes, the everyday on the ground. And I think that's what a lot of the business owners have wanted to see from River Center in the past. So I'm really grateful for that direction. When it comes to public art, I know River Center has other money besides what we're seeing right here. I've sat up here in the past and, nodded my head to past River Center assessments and past River Center budgets, ones that included up to $20,000 for public art. I want to see art and I don't want it to come on the back of the business owners. I don't want to see our River Center asking business owners to foot the majority of the funding for public art. It's not like we're painting huge advertisements for the businesses or, so that's something I'm looking forward to working through with the River Center as we move forward. I'm under the understanding that there was a 2022 mural policy that had been passed that's pretty hindering at this point. That states that River Center only paid for 25% of a public art mural. That's sabotage from the get. So I think we really need to talk with the board about our interests as a governing body and our interests in our downtown and restructure this so that we get proper artists, proper funding, and we know the money is there, so let's use it wisely and appropriately on public art.
How nice Asbury's new mural is. Gorgeous.
Yeah, so just to respond real quickly, Deputy Mayor. I did inherit a policy.
I know.
And that is going to be a major item on our agenda.
We know what it's like to inherit things. It's okay.
At our next executive committee, which is coming up in 10 days.
Mhm.
To
Yeah.
continue.
Just wanted to put that on the record.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm in agreement with you.
Well, thanks for your help on Saturday with, Happy Hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
The bands and Tom was wonderful.
We loved it.
Setting up the tables and getting things out there. I think it was very well attended. Thank you.
oh, you're very, very welcome. We're looking actually, just as an FYI, we're looking to do it on a more regular basis.
I heard that.
Yeah,
Okay,
so, stay tuned on that too.
I will.
I also want to take this moment since you're before us to say, go to these business openings that you organize and bring the giant scissors. And I find it so powerful to do that, to go to these events and have is that are people struggling to survive in the Amazon era of America. You're here doing your best to help something, they don't all make it, but it is quite something to see you and River Center all over the place doing what you can, whether it's on the Galleria, I was there at the opening of the clothing store over there, or downtown, or these restaurants, and it's so important what you do. Because it is, what is it, 90% of businesses fail, and you're doing what you can to help, and that small stuff matters so much. And I'm grateful, because I love living in a town with a downtown.
Well, all of you are fortunate because you live in a town with a great downtown, in my humble opinion.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we want to keep it great. And I appreciate the sentiment and comments. And I also appreciate the fact that many of you have attended those ribbon cuttings, because I think it means a lot to the business owner.
Yeah.
When they see their mayor and they see their council members attend a ribbon cutting, it means that the town cares about them and wants them.
Amazingly, we didn't always do that.
No, I know.
Can you just stick around? We're gonna open up the floor for public comment for your budget.
Sure.
All right, have a motion to open the public hearing on the SID budget only.
I'll make such a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public have any questions on this special improvement district budget? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should be microphone, should be working. Yeah, second.
64 McLaren Street. It was rather refreshing actually to hear councillors actually speak up about bicycle parking in this town. In fact, I knew you were going to because I've spoken to at least 3 of you in the last week about the matter. However, I think it's rather shameful that after 3 or 4 years of Broadwalk being an institution in the town, that the best River Centre can say at the moment is that, oh yeah, there's going to be a couple of bike parking places on the new park. They're non-existent. And other than that, in a town like this, there is no other facility. Now, people are going to say, well, where are the cyclists then? I'm going to say like 2 things to you. First of all, this is the chicken and the egg. I mean, I don't ride my bike downtown because I can't leave it anywhere. And I'm assuming most other people are like that as well. And so, and there's also about building a better mousetrap. You build bike facilities and people will come and they will use them. And here's a thing that business people who are against pedestrianisation or against bike facilities always refuse to acknowledge, although it's well proven, is that people who arrive by bike give a bigger turnover to businesses and have bigger spends. And that's a fact. And, you can also, you can just go and look at, you're talking about GPS information. Well, there are also things called bicycle heat maps. I use Strava and Commute, whereby there's DGPS information tells you how many bicycles in the past through the town and when. At the moment, of course, not many people stop. But It's no good to say, well, think about it next year. You've got to do something about it now. And you know, we spitballed another parklet that's going to be stuck in a rather inappropriate place, $60,000 or $70,000. I can tell you $60,000 or $70,000 would actually transform the centre, would transform Broad Street from the bicycle parking point of view. And it would be a huge, huge benefit to local business. And yet, all we care about, all the centre seems to care about, are the cars, the free parking, and so on. And you know, you can say, no, we do care more, but you don't. You don't. You can just see by what you've done, by what you've not done. And I'm not asking, I'm just telling you, you've got to get your act into gear on cycling and better pedestrian facilities. But I don't see it in this budget. Next year, maybe. Not good enough.
I will say, and I just wanted to mention Mr. Hill too, and actually to everybody's benefit, and commend Nancy for putting together, really spearheading a grant that was put in this year through the AARP for 32 bike racks and I believe 2 bicycle repair stations.
Yep.
So 34 additional biking facilities. And truthfully, you know, Councilmember Blackwood did a great job with that in conjunction with our grant writers. So, you know, extending that to the downtown is definitely a goal. And I think that you stated that today, that that's a goal of yours. But as far as the borough-wide goes, it's a goal of ours as well. And that's referenced in the grant application that's been submitted already.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, oh, yes. In the back.
Evening, my name is Bruce Shapiro with New Jersey Realtors. Originally, I actually didn't come here to talk about this tonight. We came to talk about the short-term rental ordinance that one of my colleagues will talk about in a while, but in listening to the conversation, through our National Association of Realtors, we actually have something called a placemaking grant, which we can work with communities on across the country. And if we get approval to submit one through our local board of realtors, and I talked to my colleague Robert White, who's with the board here tonight, we can actually submit an application. Obviously, there's no guarantee it'll be approved by our National Association, but it funds things such as walking paths, parklets, and bike racks and filling stations around the community. So that's something we'd obviously, if the town's interested or River Center is interested, we'd love the opportunity to work with you on. And I can email information on this to you. I see one thumbs up right there. Councilwoman Basie Blackwood. But we'd love the opportunity to also work with the town or River Center on this. Yeah, once again, I couldn't guarantee the application to be approved because it comes through our National Association, but something like this sounds right up the alley of what their placemaking program seems like.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say one thing, Mayor? Yes, I think that would be great because that would be nice if we could take up a parking spot and get something for permanent bike parking, like an Oni pod, or, you know, something along those lines.
Sure.
So thank you.
And that program has 2 phases. This sounds more like it'd be a phase 2. Level 1 is more for temporary projects. That's a maximum $3,000 grant. A level 2 for permanent projects, assuming the bike racks would be permanent, they wouldn't come down when Broad Street's reopened. That's a maximum $7,500 grant we can apply for.
That would pay for about a third of an Oni pod, but that helps, yes.
Quickly what the cost of a bike rack is, but
Oh, no, it's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments on the city budget? No? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing on the city budget only?
I'll make that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, next up, we're public comments on agenda items only. Reminder to everybody, you'll have really 3 moments to comment on it. There's the public comments now. As we introduce each ordinance or bring up each ordinance, there'll be also a chance, at least for the ordinances that we are debating to pass, you'll have a chance to speak to them as well. But right now, I'm going to have a motion to open the floor for public comments on agenda items only.
Make such a motion,
Is there a
Mr.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yes. Of course.
There we have a few people speaking on the same, resolution, can we all come up together?
Sure.
Sure.
Sounds efficient.
From the floors tonight, later on. Well, it's 128 Riverside Avenue. Good evening, everybody. So we're speaking on the resolution regarding ranked choice voting. I'll be brief. I just want to thank you for putting the resolution on the agenda. I discussed it with all of you, I think, over the past months. And I just appreciate the chance to have it in front of you. And I'll thank you.
Sure. Hi, my name is Herb Tarabus. I'm from Piscataway, 411 New Market Road. 4 years ago, we founded Voter Choice New Jersey in order to advocate for ranked choice voting. I want to thank you for considering ranked choice voting. And I want to thank Boris for being a steadfast volunteer for us for the next 4 years. Ranked choice voting gets a lot of accolades about what it can do, and I think it's even more powerful than what we generally do. One thing that I particularly like about ranked choice voting is the ability to express your full political opinion in the voting booth. Right now, when there's 3 or 4 people running, our free speech is infringed because we can only express our opinion on one person. So ranked choice voting, one of the most powerful things is that it allows us to express our full opinion and then see those opinions in the results. So again, thank you. And it's something that you can feel good about.
Hi, I'm Barry Bender, formerly of Leonardo, now of Forked River, New Jersey. I've been with Voter Choice New Jersey for 4 years, and I just wanted to talk about things that have occurred for us. We've gotten in 2 of the larger cities in New Jersey what we refer to as a trigger ordinance, and I think many of you know what a trigger ordinance is. We've gotten in Hoboken and in Jersey City. And in Jersey City, it was almost full support from the entire council. We're going around the state, and I know, Mayor, I bumped into you a couple of times on election day a while ago. We're going around the entire state, visiting various municipalities to promote trigger ordinances, to in turn encourage the people in Trenton. There are 2 bills, one in the Senate and one in the Assembly. And when those get passed, it allows municipalities and boards of education to put forward a trigger ordinance. Well, actually, once they're passed, you won't need a trigger ordinance, but put forward a ballot issue so that people can vote on whether they want to use ranked choice voting or not. And I thank you very, very much for putting this on your agenda, leading the way here in Monmouth County. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Larry White. I'm an organizer for Voter Choice New Jersey, and I send greetings from hell, where we have independent candidates getting lawn signs stolen, and our former sheriff just with the subordinate that we don't have a downtown to beautify. I make this comparison, ladies and gentlemen, because Red Bank is a jewel in the crown here in Monmouth County. You have a great town. I missed by overbids being a resident in this community 3 years ago. And you also have a nonpartisan council and a progressive government. We need people and towns like you to give support to ranked choice voting for places like mine, where it's going to be a heavy lift. And I'm asking you, as a Democrat and as a fellow member and citizen of this county, to put some wind beneath our wings and demonstrate to the legislature of the state of New Jersey that there are townships and cities in this state that are ready to use ranked choice voting right now. That will do a lot to help us convince the legislature that they need to pass these bills. So thank you in advance for your support.
Thank you. Steve, I saw your hand up.
Stephen Beck, 135 Ranch Avenue. Briefly, I just wanted to indicate, certainly the council knows this, but to the public as well and for the record. Ranked choice voting is not necessarily the panacea that it appears to be. I want to urge certainly council members, but the public at large to do some reading about cons, not only the pros of ranked choice. Candidates and votes are not like buying refrigerators. If I can't get the Whirlpool, then I'll buy the Amana. It's not that simple, and there is a body of literature out there that I've only begun to look at today, honestly. And I would urge people to do that. The other thing that we should emphasize is that if and when these bills are passed by the state legislature, the next step would be for the council to provide essentially a referendum, a question on the ballot for those of us in Redmond as to whether we would choose them. So this is not an aforementioned a slam dunk, and we should do some research about it. I would certainly urge the folks who were involved in the Charter Study Commission, and I know they addressed this initially. I would urge them to address it once again, based on whatever it is that the state may provide with respect to the current legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Alan Hill, 64 Clarence Street. It's a bit of a surprise to come in this evening and find this resolution on the agenda. I'm going to tell you why I'm very surprised for a number of reasons. Firstly, everybody proposing it is from out of town. This resolution does not arise from people within this town. Secondly, this matter I would have thought was discussed by the Charter Commission and probably rejected. And if it wasn't discussed by the Charter Commission, what's it doing here? Thirdly, I actually spoke to the chair of the Charter Commission about another matter equally pertinent to people in this community, and that was the enabling non-citizens to vote in local matters. I was told by the chair that that was not going to be possible and that it was never going to happen, despite the fact, I admit, not happening in New Jersey. It's not happening, but it does happen in New York and other states around here. So I want to know, how is this getting such privileged treatment? You know, could I just come in and get a motion, you know, just for votes for non-citizens? Could I get that? No, of course I couldn't. And, you know, as I say, what we've got here, three gentlemen, you know, this may be a brilliant idea, maybe, I don't know. But why do we need people coming from out of town who have got already working in a sort of, working towards it, working in and here we are discussing it, but not only that, on the agenda, we're going to get voted for Syria to, you know, at the end, you'll all just go aye, and it'll go through. All the time, you need to think about this. You're not giving them the opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Steve Scully, 25 Cedar Street. First one is the ordinance 2024-14. It referenced certain trees. We're on permission to take down and go through a process, permanent process. I'm just want clarification on what certain trees they are. I think one is the trees between the street and the sidewalk. Number two, there was something here about the marijuana, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the school or the library. But I heard some talk that at some point, when you receive the money from the taxes, that the library could possibly receive a percentage of that amount, so I didn't know if that was under discussion. Number three, your resolution regarding the trailers on the street and stuff. I gotta commend I guess, the acting chief for being very helpful, but my question is, it comes down to enforcement. We have all these rules, but I mean, just walking my dog today, I have 4 pictures up here of people parking in front of fire hydrants or on the yellow strips or on main streets. I mean, you can't tell me the police isn't going down Bridge Street. They go down Bridge Street. I just don't understand who is responsible for enforcing these rules. You're not supposed to park in front of the fire hydrant. That's a pretty obvious rule. But all weekend, I had a car on the corner of Cedar Street, Cedar and Bridge. So I really would emphasize all this paperwork's great, but nobody's, giving out tickets and enforcing the rules. What the hell's the problem? What does it do?
Did you call that in?
No, this morning I had to go to work actually, so I just took pictures when I walked my dog. This is just simply walking around the corner of my house.
I'd appreciate, instead of taking the pictures, just call it in.
Call who?
Police department.
I've had discussions with them and sometimes they're a little clueless. I call in and I ask them a question, they say they don't know, and they don't, I can't prove it unless I have pictures. It's hearsay if I call it in.
But they record every phone call.
So my question is,
Then Jim can deal with it if they're not.
call it in.
Yeah.
Why isn't it a cop or somebody driving through and just?
It takes a community and we appreciate the help. This is not helpful. Calling it in and having it enforced is.
I just don't think, I think it's also the town's job. I mean, I'm not doing the town's job. I don't know.
So we do this over and over. Just call it in.
But you're right.
What is this?
But I wanted to know who's responsible to drive. I see cops going up and down the street.
The employees of the borough, the residents of the borough, and anybody else who cares in the borough is responsible for helping the enforcement of the rules of the community.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
I don't call in.
Thank you.
It's just what, I mean,
It's just as like for up here for us, right, as the management of the town. It's way easier for Jim to go down to the police department and say, I know you got a call this morning at 9:15. Did you go out and take a look at it? Versus, hey, did you happen to see the car that's parked in the fire hydrants? Like from a management perspective, it helps us. You to call it in, even if you do it anonymously. They at least then know that they got a call, and then Jim can have people be held accountable because we know there's a call versus, hey, did you see that? Oh, no, I was at a call on another road that time, right? That's what, so it helps us if you call it in, not just, it helps us accountability from top to bottom here.
And even as a crossing guard for the borough, you care about the safety of children or anybody else. So just be a part of that.
which I do. We called in, there was wires hanging down. We called it in. A kid today across the street, he was limping, he needed help. I called him to middle school. Absolutely on the capacity of school.
Blocking a fire hydrant?
And it's crossing guard. I call it. This is just driving down the street. I mean, you gotta tell me, please don't see this. This is bridge. Get a dog. I just walk around the street. This is all this nonsense I'm saying.
The truth is, so we will never be able to prove one way or another whenever we saw it, but if you call it in and no one addresses it, then Jim can do his job to make it happen. Because we do agree with you that it's a serious issue.
And people are ignoring.
And we can't sit up here and point out all the things that we're fixing today either.
No, I think the chief's doing a great job. He has on it, but I mean, you, more than just saying, see, spending money getting grants. Let's fix up today.
Thank you. Anyone else, public comments for agenda items? Yes.
You never answered my other question though.
Oh,
Certain trees. What's certain trees?
In the ordinance, it's all trees.
it's all trees.
I'm mistaken, it's all trees, right? Yeah.
It says certain, so if I have a tree on my property, I don't.
Yes. That came down from the state.
I mean, it says certain trees because there are exceptions. For example, we can't tell JCP&L what to do with their utility easements. It's not applicable to borough-owned properties, state-owned properties, you count other government properties above us. So that's the reason it says certain trees. it's all trees essentially on properties within our jurisdiction, but not every tree is within our jurisdiction in this valley. That's why I said so. Yes.
Good evening, my name is Mary Ellen Ness. I reside at 95 Hudson Avenue here in Red Bank, and I am interested in the ordinance number 2024-23 regarding short-term rentals. I think Mr. Foley makes a good point that these ordinances are only as good as the enforcement. You know, you can craft things as you want, but if they're not enforced, it really doesn't do any good. And I think this town has a long history, not only of very poor enforcement, but also creating situations that have a lot of unintended consequences. So and I will get back to that, but in the ordinance, the dwelling unit is defined as a single unit divided into independent living facilities for one or more persons. And, but it doesn't address rooms in dwelling units where there are common kitchen and bathroom facilities. And I was wondering if that was intentional or is that just an oversight? Because the Asbury Park short-term rental policy does address like a bedroom in a home where the kitchen and the bathroom are shared. In other words, it doesn't have a separate kitchen. So does this ordinance actually mean that, you know, renting a bedroom in your home is not allowed, or was it just an oversight? That was my first question.
I'm not sure the proper version of the ordinance is published online for what I'm reading.
Well, you know, this isn't, how am I expected them to come in here and comment on it if I can't find the right ordinance? And you know, the website, Mr. Gant, is terrible. The way it's organized is terrible. The lateness of how things are posted for people is terrible. So are you telling me I'm working from the wrong document here?
There should be a 2B5 that addresses exactly the situation you were talking about.
I didn't get that today. And this is, you know, this happens quite frequently. You don't have the stuff up. It went up, I think, yesterday afternoon.
Monday.
Yeah, it was posted Monday, the full agenda.
I don't have a 2B5.
I think that
What was
Not in our packet.
What did I get today? I got it today, this afternoon. So it's now on, it does refer to bedrooms?
does.
Okay.
This is on for introduction in there.
It is a different.
Okay,
No,
Other
we
than-
workshopped this up.
all right.
We didn't read this.
So does two
So-
units,
I'll read the clause to you then. So you see, 559 2B, and there's 1 through 4. So the ordinance has a 5, which allows you to utilize as a short-term rental, quote, not more than 2 bedrooms within a single-family residential dwelling unit where the bedrooms share common kitchen and bathroom facilities with the occupant of the dwelling unit, and the remainder of the single-family dwelling unit is occupied by the owner and identified by the owner as his or her principal residence, as that term is defined herein, which tracks the language of the Asbury Park ordinance that you were referring to.
so my second question is this idea of principal residence and how you actually confirm that, document it. Right now, we're relying on a driver's license or a state identification card. And quite frank, has that changed at all? Is that the same on the revised ordinance?
That's the same.
I really think that's inadequate. Because I think that, and is there any I just don't think that that's a valid way to determine residency. When the original ordinance was passed, I was here and I listened to many people who were operating short-term rentals in town come up here and they identified themselves as residents of Red Bank, and they weren't residents of Red Bank. They were registered to vote elsewhere. If you check their them online, they were indicated to have been living other places like Fairhaven, Tinton Falls, Middletown. So I just don't think that this is an adequate way to really determine whether the person is a bona fide resident. But getting back to the enforcement, I wanted to know, will a list of registered short-term rentals in town be available to anyone the public? In other words, if I'm concerned about what's going on my street or my neighborhood, can I come to the municipal building and see a list of short-term rentals that are operating in town?
You could go for that list. We would likely redact personal identifiers from that list, like we do, for example, for dog licenses, like dog fence companies. We'll put our dog license list from time to time, and we try to redact personal information, and there's guidelines on that.
So there would be an address, though. You would know that it was being operated at a certain address.
Yes.
So if I was operating a short-term rental and I was not registered, I would not appear on the list. So then that would indicate that I was in violation of the ordinance, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. But is that information in the ordinance? Is there a statement in the ordinance that says that the public can have access to the addresses at which these short-term rentals are operating?
No, you're right to see that as provided by state statute, the Open Public Records Act.
So I would have to file an open public records request?
Yes.
That seems very cumbersome. I mean, I've been here where people have complained about
That's how we do it here.
the time. So I would ask the council to consider putting some language in the ordinance that would make it easier for residents to find out if there's a short-term rental operating in close proximity to their home. I think that would be only fair.
Like a Megan's Law for short-term rentals?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea, I don't think.
I'll have to research that.
Okay, and do these people get to talk back to me? I mean, is that okay?
He's being rude.
He's being rude to me.
I apologize. I can't hear from up here. But can we please stop?
If there should be a Megan's Law for short-term rentals, so obviously he's trying to be facetious at my expense. I don't know who he is. I don't know where he comes from. I'm assuming he operates a short-term rental. Maybe it's an illegal one, unregistered. But I don't think it's appropriate for the audience to
I agree
harass me.
100%. I did not hear him, but as I've said before here, if you can listen quietly and respectfully and wait your turn, I'm gonna ask you to leave.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay.
We have,
Yeah.
if you have additional questions for this ordinance, can you address it when the ordinance comes up? We just usually have a 3-minute limit. We're gonna be here all night. We have a lot of people that want to speak to this.
Well, my concern, I'm not gonna stay here and listen to everybody complain about this ordinance. I'm in support of the ordinance. I am concerned about its enforcement. I think the way it's written, it's incumbent upon the neighbors to kind of out the unregistered short-term rentals. And I think that's a very unfair position to put people in. And how do you actually, I know someone who has brought it to the attention of the borough and was asked to actually, well, how do you prove it? So is it gonna be incumbent upon me as a resident, if I think this is a problem and think this is being operated in violation of the ordinance, is it gonna be incumbent on me to prove my case? I mean, am I gonna have to hire a private investigator
Yeah.
to follow people around?
Yeah.
So, and one more thing, because I really wanna leave. I got fresh.
Yeah, we all do.
Okay.
Yeah, just to answer that a little clearer, it goes to court. And one of the reasons the last version, one of the reasons why this is happening right now is because the version that was passed before and on the record, and I sat up here during that time and said it wasn't enforceable. Our prosecutor turned around and said it wasn't enforceable as it was written. So that's why we're here now, because there's a court. If this were to happen, people go to court, they prove their stuff, they bring their paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. And the last ordinance wasn't holding up in municipal court. It wasn't enforceable. So people that were breaking the ordinance or operating Airbnbs where they weren't supposed to be couldn't be held accountable. Whereas now this ordinance fixes that and makes it owner occupied only. So that would happen in court.
The only other thing I wanted to say is there any way to get these platforms, these booking platforms, whether it's Airbnb or VRBO or whatever it is, to actually provide the borough with a list of what's operating in town? Because at this point, you gotta look on the map, you gotta see the little pins, you gotta try to figure out where they are, because unless you book it, you don't get the address. And I think that's another hardship for people, and also for the borough, which is trying to regulate it. I mean, you have to kind of be a detective to figure out where these things are operating. And to figure out, is it registered? Is it not registered? Are they in compliance? Are they not? So I really think the ordinance, could be fine-tuned a little bit to make the enforcement a little better. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, you had your hand up earlier. Yes, so Steve first and then gentleman in the back and then, what's that?
It's already been up.
He went earlier for the specific,
Stephen Heck, 135 Branch Avenue. I'm not the only one to speak more than once tonight.
didn't you, I'm sorry, I thought you had gotten up to speak under the SID, no?
I did.
Oh, then,
Now I'm speaking.
yes, it's a different, yes.
I'm the only one. Thank you for starting the clock, because I do not want to overstay my welcome. We need to start it. Come up here. Question. Trees. If I want to cut down a tree on my property, do I need to go to the town and get a permit?
Yes.
How long is that in effect?
After the adoption of this ordinance going forward.
I'm sorry.
After the adoption of this ordinance going forward, so that the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection has put together stormwater regulation rules and ordinances that we're required to pass to obtain a permit. And one of those requirements is that the borough adopt an ordinance that requires tree replacements.
So the borough has no choice in whether to adopt this ordinance. And if that's the case, then why are we not subject to the state regulation? Why do you have to pass an ordinance to get it done? I think this is a classic case of government overreach. And I'm a liberal Democrat. So what the hell is going on? Why doesn't the state say this is what our people need to do? And why do you have to become a part of
It's not dissimilar from other areas of the town, like for example, the Division of Fire Safety has a uniform fire code, or there's a uniform construction code, or the tax assessor follows the Division of Taxation rules. Or the Division of Taxation has rules for tax assessment that the assessor and the collector both follow, and we administer them locally. So this would be a point is well taken, yet another state mandate that will be administered by local officials. It is not funded.
Okay, well, I urge you, as independently thinking human beings, I urge you to either not give a second to this or just don't pass it and see what the hell happens in Trenton. It's ridiculous.
Steve, I'll tell you what will happen. We won't have our permit for stormwater and then we'll get daily fines for not being in compliance.
So is that kind of like blackmail?
It's by a different,
Yeah, by the state.
by a different.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Robert White, past president for New Jersey Realtors, and I'm also the past president for the Monmouth Ocean Regional Realtors. Last year, we came and sat before the council, mayor and deputy mayor were here then, everybody else was not. And we.
Sorry, can we pause just for 1 second? Thank you. Do you have like a watch or something that you can use?
Yeah, I keep.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that. Jim had to run out. He had an emergency.
I got it. So last year we came before the council and, you know, we opposed that short-term rental ordinance that was introduced and ultimately passed after being vetoed. We applaud Mayor Portman and again, Deputy Mayor Trigiano to, you know, for opposing it as well in that vote. Tonight, we're happy to be here to speak in full support of that ordinance that you guys have all worked very hard on recrafting. And I think that it will become the poster short-term rental ordinance for all of Monmouth and Ocean County. We've seen some disastrous rental ordinances come out in various towns, Asbury Park being one of them. And so we're hopeful that this ordinance will pass and be the groundbreaking rule that it is. The only thing we don't like is that you're limiting it to the owner occupant. You're not going to make everybody happy, but this was a great piece of work here, and we're just proud to support it. To the woman that spoke before, you know, about Airbnb and VRBO getting registrations, you can't do that, but we can encourage real estate professionals to represent those short-term rentals because it's also an added benefit to the homeowner because they don't have to pay the 11.625% tax when they use a realtor to conduct that transaction. So just keep that in mind when you're talking to the residents and saying they'll use a realtor. So that's it. I just want to thank you all.
Thank you. Ma'am, you had your hand up before. Yeah.
So I was here at the last time. I'm from Oakland Street. My name's Emily. How is it enforceable like right now?
No, we haven't passed it yet.
So what happens?
20 days from today.
This was a party at 10:30 at night on Monday outside my daughter's bedroom, my 10-year-old daughter's bedroom. He just said to the girl in the hot tub, "Oh, you better watch out before I get in there and start doing some sexual things to you." My child does not need to hear that.
I agree.
So when is this gonna become enforceable? Because I'm tired of
20
listening.
days from tonight, assuming the ordinance passes.
And who do I report it to? Just code enforcement? If it's
Yes.
for a certain amount of time?
Yes.
And then how long until it gets shut down? How does it get shut down? How many days is he gonna continue to operate while getting a fine tagged on?
Have to rely upon the enforcement officers. Right, no more than. But we can't. Be very careful here, because we don't enforce the ordinances, we're the legislature. So the code enforcement and fire marshal's office are in charge of the permitting and the enforcement of this. They get a report, they're gonna handle it like everything else. If it summons the municipal court, notice of violation, depends on the severity of what's going on. Not having a permit in and of itself, after this goes into effect would be a violation of the ordinance. So there's a lot of different tools that they can use. We don't tell them what specific, just like we don't tell the police when they write you a ticket on the street, we don't tell them how to enforce rules, but they are very well aware of this. We have had a full administrative meeting on implementing this, and we're ready to go after that.
So for those owners, like, are they aware that they have like a certain amount of time? Like, is there a grace period for them to get their paperwork in order for them to either get the license or not get the license because it's not owner occupied?
I would think for the paperwork side of it, I would imagine they would get a notice of violation first rather than a summons directly to court. For violating the other parameters of the ordinance, like what you just played, basically a noise ordinance, that can just be a summons.
Yeah, right? But
I
it
believe
doesn't
so.
really say in the, I read.
Well, it refers to there's a noise ordinance chapter, which someone here who lives in town might know it better than me off the top of my head, but it refers to that. So whatever the noise is for everything else, that's what it is. I believe it's 10 PM.
It only really mentions like businesses and then like what times you're allowed to like use machinery and stuff like that. It doesn't
But I
actually.
also believe it has music and live music and,
11 p.m.
okay, so then that's the time.
So my daughter can be up until 11 p.m.
Well, the idea also as well as of the owner occupied is that if the owner has to be there listening to what's going on in the hot tub, then it won't be happening at all, right? That's part of the idea of what we're doing.
Exactly. That's why I was just wondering how long it's gonna take before it's actually enforceable.
20 days from tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Good evening, Cindy Byrne, 71 Wallace Street. Now, stop me if you guys know this already, but Fairhaven passed an ordinance just recently. They allow STRs to stays of 95 or more days. They don't ban it, they restrict the duration so that it preserves the quality of life and the safety for homeowners. And in our town, I know of no condos or townhomes that allow STRs in their buildings. So what I would ask you is to consider redefining and amending this ordinance to say that short-term rentals are 7 days or more. And I say that because it would help the enforcement. Like, I have to wonder, like the Airbnb across the street from me, the short-term rental. In a week, it turns over 4 or 5 times, 2 nights here, 1 night, 2 nights, and then a weekend. So people are constantly coming and going. Now, I'm a landlord, I have to pay for COs every time I get a new tenant and register. But how do you monitor something that goes 2 nights, then 1 night, then 2 days, and then 3 nights? How do you do that? So if you make it for a 7-day stay, you've got time to register, you've got time to get a CO. Red Bank gets the $75 for the CO. So I would like you to consider that. Because it really does disrupt the neighborhood. And what I do want to know is, how do the owners of these short-term rentals know they have to register? Or do we have to wait to find them illegally, like 60 Mechanic Street? It's running illegally. You said that they had a smart lawyer and they got off on a loophole. Because why? Because they weren't registered? What was the loophole?
The loophole is that the last, so a couple of things. One, the language, as you can see, it's been crossed out, and B and C doesn't really match. So you can kind of argue in the converse in court. A couple have done that. With respect to the licensing process is ill-defined, and
Was he licensed? Was he
No.
registered?
no, but he's not able to get a license in his circumstance, and that's what he's claiming his defense is before court, which is what caused our code enforcement to contact us and say that we're not sure if this guy's allowed to get a license or not because of the ambiguity between B and C. So you need to clean all that up, and you need to clean up what the licensing procedures at the end so that we can clearly process people basically based on the driver's licenses and the other indicia that are in here. And then it's free and clear. I don't have someone arguing, oh, but this is over here, or oh, but that's over there. And or potentially going to the land use boards because this has some zoning-ish elements to it for a variance for these short-term rentals, because we clearly didn't intend that. So that's really what this cleans up. Is this going to be perfect 21 days from now? No, but can I tell you that we are prepared here from the court, our representative in the court, the prosecutor, all the way up to Jim and me to figure out how to get a handle on what's going on out there. We certainly are, and this is the tool that really allows us to do that and draw a clear dividing line between who's allowed to do this and who's not.
Well, I don't know, from what I've seen with the 60 Mechanic Street, that was kind of a fiasco, because even when I called the police, they were asking me, how do you know it's an Airbnb? How do you know it's a short-term rental? I mean, we know it's a short-term rental, it's been proven to be a short-term rental. It was illegally being run, so I don't understand, you know, what the loophole was. But again, I say, how do we know, how do these owners know that they have to register?
They're likely to, if they don't, so number one, when you're operating these things, as I understand it, and I don't own one or operate one, you have to do a whole checklist with the actual providers online that what your local regulations are. That's how they know what the local assessment.
Measures online.
Yeah.
Airbnb.
VRBO, I believe, you have to register where you're, like, I believe you have to add the charges, so that you have to go through the checklist, so that's one. If you're doing this and you're operating online, you know to look for the ordinance, right? And then number two, if they don't, then I guess mentioned to the other lady, they're gonna get a notice of violation and a certain period of time to come in here and get the license. And then if they don't, they're gonna get a summons to municipal court. Just like someone who doesn't have a CO or a landlord registration or other things in town that code deals with. Smoke detector certificate, just like you were referencing for rentals, they would basically be the same process.
All right, here's another problem.
Can Cindy, when we open up the floor again for public comment, can we?
Can I just finish this? I got one more question.
Okay.
Okay, not a question, but a statement. Okay, I know two of these short-term rentals, they don't have any driveways. So what I would like to see in this ordinance is something that says that the owner of the Airbnb has to get a parking permit, which would allow that person to park in the parking lot. Because once they come in, I mean, parking on Wallace Street is insane. Insane. We have overcrowding and these people come in at night and then they leave in the day. You can't park at night. And you know what? When you go to Cape May and you have a place, maybe it has one parking place, but then they say you have to go down to the end of the street and get a parking permit and park in the public parking lot. So it's no different than that. So that's what I wanted to say. And okay, I'll ask the rest of my questions later.
Thanks. So Cindy, just to address your concern, it's 559A7.
What is?
The application process requires the owner to write the number and location of all parking spaces available on the premises, which shall include the number of legal off-street parking. The owner shall certify that renters will not use on-street parking unless off-street parking is unavailable or no off-street parking is available. On-street parking regulations apply.
But there is on-street parking and it's available, they're gonna take it, right?
They have to.
They will.
Okay.
I know. So we have to cross that one out and say no on-street parking. You get a permit from your provider, your renter, or your owner. And they have to pay for a permit, which I think is $1,000 a year. And then that person can park in the parking lot, in the public parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Also, just really quick clarification, because I know there's been a few things about this. It's not for every platform, and it's not that every short-term rental has to use an Airbnb platform, but those platforms do notify their hosts of an ordinance change in a municipality. So they will get that notification when the ordinance changes through that platform.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Hello.
Hi.
Mary Beth Lachlan, 53 Wallace Street. I would like to speak regarding the short-term rental ordinance. I'd like to ask for some amendments before it passes. First, I think limiting to the owner-occupied units is a little discriminatory. A better approach might be to limit the number of licenses. From watching this debate over the years, there's a clear need for short-term rentals, and a real concern also that too many of them will change the personality of our home. By limiting the license count to a low percentage to overall residential units, you then can address the concerns of people that think too many will have adverse effects to our neighborhood. And having a responsible party on call, no matter what the property type is, would be also a thing to recommend. My second concern I have mentioned before is the complaint section. How the ordinance is written leads me to believe a complaint that is just that, it's just a complaint. Most of us are reasonable people, and, you know, we would expect complaints like, and we just had on the noise. On the noise.
There you go.
Perfect to many people in the house or bouncy castles, all the things we've heard in the past. But what if someone just likes to complain? What if somebody makes it their job to complain? What recourse does a homeowner have? Just this week, the owner at 70 Wallace Street had to answer a complaint that he was operating a legal short-term rental. While that property was used as short-term rental before the effective ban went into place, it has since been a long-term rental.
Recording in progress.
Sadly, that's spiteful neighbors themselves. Are they just trying to get as many complaints on record as possible to avoid a short-term rental at that address? Now, in this scenario, the complaint was easy to prove unsubstantiated. However, what I'm upset about, and what everybody in this room should be upset about, is that at least 2 town employees were distracted from normal business. A homeowner and a tenant had to take time from their working day to address the complaint. That was just spiteful in nature. As a taxpayer, the ordinance needs to have language to include a process determining if a complaint is legitimate before shutting someone down. And ideally fines the complainant who wastes time and taxes employees' time if too many unwarranted complaints are made by the same party. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's gonna, do you want me to keep time?
I will keep it. I was committed to.
Hi, my name's London. I live on Oakland Street. Very nervous tonight. I live next to a short-term rental. I live in a single-family residence. It's in a duplex, a self-managed condo duplex. It's my private residence, and I share 3 floors of walls with an active Airbnb. And we never thought we'd have to deal with this when we moved in and purchased our place, which we purchased because we could afford it on our nonprofit and education salaries. It is only a short-term rental. It's not anyone's primary residence, and it's a revolving door. It has guests in it nearly every weekend. Most weekends of the year, most days of the week between spring and fall, and it was booked literally every day last summer. It does get rented out for as little as 1 night at a time, despite our pleas for that to stop. I was up again at 3 o'clock in the morning on Monday night due to the noise coming from next door. This is the same noise that the woman on the other side of the room played for you. It happens to be owned, I believe, by a realtor to the point in the back of the room. And it's not the first time that's happened, and it's been dozens of times over the past year. And even when it's not happening, I now come to live in sort of a constant state of anxiety for the next group of guests to check in. So I know that you, the council, have said that you are enacting this to make it more enforceable, to close these loopholes. And you see it as being as strict of a law as it can be. And I really thank you for that, like truly thank you. Because I think you'll do a service for our community and people who live and love it here, as I do, by making the messy current version of this actually real and enforceable. I just urge you to take 2 things very seriously that have already been raised tonight as you hand it over to your administration employees to enforce and move on this. The first is the validation and the investigation and the permit application phase, and the second is enforcement. on the permit application process, I do encourage you or urge you to empower and insist on a full and thorough investigation, using every tool and resource and frankly, common sense. I fear that it will be all too easy and there is truly all too great of an incentive for someone who's making money hand over fist to simply produce a driver's license and swear they live there. I know in my situation, by my reading of the ordinance, it sounds like there are other things that will stop that from being an allowed short-term rental, but you know, I fear for others who aren't in that exact situation where there's other layers as well. Because I think the way that this looks and the way that it's been enforced so far, which has been very tricky, but I think you are speaking to that in your explanation of the loopholes, is that this is like a step back from where we were. I don't think it is because you are making this the most enforceable of it is, but it seems like that upon my first reading. One thing I would encourage your administration to include in that process is like neighborhood notification. I think that's sort of come up before, and testimony aspects from those of us who live near where these applicants are coming from, to attest, to swear ourselves. And like I said, to use common sense, like how can an Airbnb that has been and continues to be available to rent as a whole house every day of the year be someone's primary residence? There's a really high incentive here to keep these things running and be a resident in name only. So this piece is imperative. I think parents who send their children to school have more than a driver's license that they need to submit for that. The second piece that's also been raised as well is enforcement, and I would ask you to empower your officials to solve this on two ends, to be proactive. So by ensuring that out of compliance properties aren't available to book at all on these common platforms
I
like.
just want, are you sticking around a little bit too for the, we do another public comment under the ordinance? Could we finish up at that point?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I would also just say that, and maybe I'm looking at an outdated version too, but of the requirement section, there's section G, and it looks like there's a word missing. Is the subject of a substantiated criminal or civil blank? Civil or criminal what? Am I looking at the right version? Is that-
Oh, yeah, you are.
There's a missing word there.
Should be complaint. Thank you very much.
See you later.
Thank you. Anyone else have a public comment on agenda items? No.
There's nobody online.
I'll make a motion that I'll take the comments on agenda.
I'll second. Don't put two words.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We want to approve our minutes from 5/9/2024. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from 5/9/2024?
I make such a motion, Mr. Mayor.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have a bunch of ordinances to vote on and to introduce. First one is the public hearing and adoption of 2024-14 ordinance replacing chapter 665 trees with new regulations requiring permits for certain tree removals and requiring tree replacements in accordance with NJDEP stormwater regulations. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone have anything to add? Yes, sir. Big fan of this one, Steve?
Make me happy. But the trees don't. Question, what does the phrase certain trees mean?
It means it excludes trees that are outside of our jurisdiction, so county lands, state lands, utilities. Mr. Brooks is nodding his head. You got any other categories you can think of?
Same.
The trees removed pursuant to an approved forestry management plan, which would be approved by the DEP, which you wouldn't have jurisdiction on. There's a list of the exemptions in the ordinance.
Oh, and the width of the tree.
Oh, and yeah, if the tree is smaller than 6 inches, then the ordinance is not applicable to it. Diameter of breast height. which I've learned is 54 inches above the ground.
Yes.
You certainly know your trades, don't you?
Mr. Brooks schooled me well.
One other question, I try not to waste the time. Again, does this ordinance replace a similar ordinance? And did that ordinance that's being replaced require that privately owned property, trees on privately owned property, get a permit and whatever regulations follow?
Good question. I didn't study the current ordinance. It's replacing the entire chapter.
Have we entered 1984 or, was it easier?
VCR is not recording you yet. We don't even have VCRs anymore, so. Sorry. 665 currently, and Nancy, could you help me out with this? Does the current ordinance? I know it doesn't require the same replacements that this does.
No.
Does not require the replacements like this does. So the principal addition is the required replacements, which is the DEP
Yes.
regulation.
1 second, why don't we have the tree expert come in?
Yeah, do you want to tell us what we do?
Efficient. Yeah.
You gotta come on and do it on the mic, Bill, so.
Well, somebody has said it, he doesn't need a mic, but you're right. Bill Brooks, 77 Tower Hill Avenue, Red Bank. I am the vice chair of the Shade Tree Committee. And I am currently the tree code enforcement officer for Ocean Township. I've been in the tree care industry for almost 50 years. Let's start this way. Does anybody on governing body have any questions about this ordinance? Good. Counselor, to answer your question, no. The previous ordinance, which this supersedes, we did not have any jurisdiction over trees on private land. There was no ordinance that did that. It dealt basically with development. So that's when it went for a board application, something like that. That's what, it's basically land use. All right, so now, as you alluded to, the state tied it to the MS4 Stormwater Management Act, which all municipalities in the state must comply with. So they put it on that as a way to get this passed. I've known about this thing coming for 3 years.
It doesn't require passage, it just requires affirmation.
Well,
do it or you lose your funding.
That's not exactly true. What they did, the state had 3 seminars, forums, whatever you want to call them, for any municipality to attend. They were well done. And one of the things that they stressed through the entire thing was you must tailor the ordinance to fit your municipality. An ordinance for Red Bank is probably not going to apply very much in Newark. The lands are all different, demographics are different, housing is different. And the reason it's good for us to get this passed now, and the state has already indicated that they will accept what we have sent to them. So we'll be good. They'll leave us alone. And then we can tweak this to fit the town as it goes forward, because Red Bank has never done this. And it is going to require some fine tuning and changes, and the state is well aware of that, and they encourage us to do.
But they certainly don't encourage private property owners to be exempt. And
no, sir, they do not.
That's the issue here. That's the only issue here.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is to ensure that the urban forest canopy is maintained better than it's being done now. Because there is no accountability as to what the number of trees in many municipalities that are being removed and not being put back.
And to do that, they're stepping on private property rights. No disrespect to you, sir.
No, and believe me, I live in this town, you know that.
I do know that.
So, and I don't like the way this was done any more than you do, but we're stuck with it. So let's make the best out of it so we can tailor it to Red Bank.
Well, I don't think we should be stuck with something that you after 50 years of practice in this arena that you don't think is right?
I don't like the way it was handled.
Well,
No, I understand it.
The jurisdiction, just Steve, so you understand the jurisdiction, we have a permit, right? Because so the stormwater all dumps into around here to the Navasink, basically a swimming river. And those are state waters. So in order to do that, your stormwater system needs a permit. You have to show various things that are in order, just like you would if you were discharging effluent from a wastewater treatment plant. Like Two Rivers has a permit to discharge their effluent. So the state has become given, you can see the algae grow in any pool in Monmouth County or anywhere in New Jersey that's smaller than a certain size. They've gotten very stringent on what comes out of the stormwater pipes. This is part of that effort. So the jurisdiction is because we're dumping water into state waters. They have jurisdiction. It's how we run that system. And they, as Bill said, they've incorporated this as part of those regulations. Your point is very well taken, as Bill pointed out, but that's the jurisdictional hook.
so we'll lie back and just let it happen.
But what happens is that we can.
That's kind of a gross line.
We continue to put.
I'm sorry.
I didn't think of that way.
I don't.
So the issue is if we don't have that permit and we're dumping water into the river without their permission, they can fine us thousands of dollars a day. That's the municipality. Yeah.
I chopped down a tree on my property that's more than 6 inches caliber.
Yeah.
What is the sanction to me?
Summons, you go to court, and you would either have to pay a fine, the fee, or frankly, I'm sure that in the case of a resident who chopped down a tree and wasn't, did clear cut their lot on purpose to ask for forgiveness later, the prosecutor would say, can you plant a new tree on your property and come back and we'll dismiss the ticket. That's the practical effect of what's going on.
So it's all theater, thanks.
No, we're gonna get that tree planted, whether it comes from the court or the permit.
We have levels of government above us.
There is one other thing.
Take down any dead, diseased, decayed, dying, well, hazard trees. And you don't have any mitigation obligation at all.
That's important.
There would be some sort of a fee to have somebody come out and go, yep, I agree, it's gonna be minimal.
That's not a fee to develop.
No, that fee would,
That's the.
yes, it is, and it's not gonna be thousands of dollars or anything like that.
It's 50. And it would go to the shit. And so all the replacement fees. So for example, let's say you cut down a tree and you don't have space on your property to replant it. So there's a fee schedule in that. It's not to make money for the town. It's to provide flexibility to the resident. Let's say you take down a tree on your lot and you can't replant it on your lot. And there's an option there, the borough can find a suitable place for you. Let's say that can't happen either, or you don't feel like doing that as the resident. Then you can just pay the fee. It will go into the Shade Tree Trust, and then Bill and the Shade Tree Commission will replant the tree where appropriate someplace else. That's the idea behind it. I will say, this is a very middle ground ordinance relative to some of the ones I've written for other towns. On the end of it's a little looser, they can't get much looser than this. They just kind of have lower fees. Is Roosevelt, because their trees really aren't under threat, right? If you go to Roosevelt, you're mostly in the shade when you're in Roosevelt in the middle of the woods. Bradley Beach, on the other hand, I've written one that's extremely stringent, and the fees are well higher than the ones that are in here because of the value of the properties of the beach. Everyone decided to cut down everything and put in a hot tub and a patio and a garage apartment and everything else. So their ordinance is less of a tree permitting or is a straight tree replacement. They've planted over 165 trees over the 3 years. They put this in before the DEP mandated it because they had a real problem with trees going down everywhere on postage stamp properties that are worth $1 million. So ours is tailored start with the Shade Tree Commission. This is tailored really to Red Bank to be a suburban homeowner kind of ordinance where you kind of have flexibility in what to do, even though the government's on your property, as you pointed out. But just to give you the spectrum of one to the other, in Bradley Beach, you could pay up to $5,000 or $6,000 for taking down a tree. And in Roosevelt, they're much more lax in certain zones depending on what their urban canopy is. So that's how he said tailored. That's how we tailored it to here to try to provide it. We know that there's smaller properties here and there's people from all kinds of economic circumstances in Red Bank. So we tried to make it as flexible as possible for the homeowner to get whatever they need to get done, notwithstanding the mandate. So.
Thank you very much for your responses.
Yes. Thank you, Bill.
Yes, sir.
When is this getting active? Is it as of tonight, or is there a 30-day till it happens, or is there something?
It's, I believe this is the public hearing, correct?
Yeah.
So it's been after tonight, 20 days from tonight. Because that's the other thing is, for those of you who come, who've been coming for years, we're a Faulkner municipality now. So it's 20 days after the ordinance is adopted, not upon publication like it was in the former borough form.
On Hill 64 Time Street. It's good that trees are being taken seriously. So, I mean, people don't seem to realise, but even in this state, there are 10% fewer big trees than were even 10 years ago. So it's very important that trees are maintained. But I have some questions, and that is, is there no requirement about what the tree replacements are? I mean, I would expect that tree replacement should be either non-cultivars, not ornamental trees, which are not that really good for the environment. So is there any requirement as to the type of tree?
Yes, I believe it references the Shade Tree Commission's approved list.
And that's published where?
On the, or our website.
I believe it's on the Shade Tree website, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And while I respect people's property rights, I want you to imagine it. No, I don't want you to imagine this. I'm going to tell you where I live. I don't have any trees on my property. My next door has a massive tree on their property, and large parts of it are rotten and drop off. And my partner and I just sit in our house on a windy night because we're downwind of the prevailing wind, and one day expecting that tree to drop on our heads. What powers have the town got for actually getting somebody to do something about that tree? What powers have I got? Can I come and report to the tree commission and say we've got a potentially dangerous tree here?
Yeah, I believe, because I did get a call about this. We sent out code enforcement. I believe they, along with probably Bill from Shade Tree, would make a determination if that tree is dangerous and needs to come down. And I believe, right, that's probably under some.
Yeah, that's more of a property maintenance issue. This ordinance addresses just strictly removals and the environmental aspects of it, but we have the International Property Maintenance Code, if dead limbs hanging over stuff, that's in there. It's in the 2018 version. So it's a code issue.
Okay, anyone else? No, okay, can I have a motion to close the public comment on this ordinance only?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-14?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Bonitatis,
Yes.
Councilperson Kenneth Cassidy.
Yes.
Councilperson Casey Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest.
Yes.
Councilperson Janelle,
Yes.
Councilperson Giuliano,
Yes.
Mayor Portland.
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you, that's all right. Next up is a public hearing and adoption for 2024-23, amending prior uncodified ordinance number 2023-02, establishing new chapter entitled short-term rentals to revise said regulations to permit short-term rentals within only owner-occupied premises. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing on this ordinance only?
Make such a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Floor is yours, yes.
Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. Once again, I just want to ask you to consider changing the definition of short-term rental. And what is the definition of short-term rental? Is it 1 day? What do we have? Is it 2 days?
28 or less days.
It's in there.
It's in there,
It's 20.
What?
28 or less days, I think.
It's in there.
28 or fewer consecutive.
28 or fewer consecutive days is the definition of a short-term rental.
28 or fewer.
Right.
Executive days.
Well, I still think you should make it 7 days. 7 to 28 days, then something like that. Because I just think it would make it easier for you guys to enforce, monitor, whatever. Because I do think it's a public safety issue. I mean, there's a lot of crazy people in this world nowadays. And maybe one's gonna come and stay next to you for a day and then come out shooting. You just don't know. You just don't know. It depreciates, having a short-term rental depreciates the value of our homes. It takes away housing for long-term. For instance, what used to be a short-term rental across the street from me, which is 70 Wallace, is now a long-term rental. They have a 2-year rental lease on it. So that is wonderful because I would much rather have a neighbor live next door to a neighbor than a motel. And I am friends with those people, and I don't know what Mary Beth Blocker was talking about, because I know they're there for 2 years, so I didn't do anything with 70 Wallace. I think she's something. Anyway, I told you condos and townhouses in Red Bank don't allow short-term rentals. And, oh, is this just for single families? This isn't an ordinance just for single families, right? It's for multiple families. Like you have a 2-fam, you have a 3-fam, you know, we go up to 4.
Right, that's defined in there as well, yes. So if you have a duplex, you would need to be living in one side, you could rent out the other side, for example.
You would have to be living in one side
Yes,
to rent out the other.
correct.
What if it's a 3-fam?
Up to 1 or up? It's defined, it's up to 2 in a multifamily building? Let me be specific. So, working on. All right. So it's a condominium or a townhouse. Only where the condominium rules and regulations are the governing
I
document.
read that, but that doesn't apply to what I'm asking.
Individually or collectively on single family residence where at least one of the owners is the principal residence. 1 unit in a 2-family residential unit where the other unit is owner occupied.
They say in a 2-family, can the one person say, yes, that's my primary residence and rent out one side of that while there's long-term tenants in the other side?
No.
So they have a lease and a long-term tenant for the other side. When they came here for the permit, our fire marshal would look at the inspection for the rental and know that the other one was rented out, not their primary residence. When they pull that card. And then the other one is no more than 2 units in any other multifamily. So your combination of triplex or everything beyond that is no more than 2 units. So if you have 5 units, no more than 2. If you have 3, 2, and you have to live in the third one. And then not more than 2 bedrooms within, I read this to the woman earlier. The last one is not more than 2 bedrooms in a single family residence where the owner's living in the rest, basically.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments on the short-term rental ordinance? Yeah, I cut you off earlier. You wanna? Yeah, you can. That was like some Travis Bickle stuff. Right.
I think I left off, sorry, London, Oakland Street. I think I left off on enforcement, which has been raised. And I would ask you to solve this on 2 ends. First, by being proactive, ensuring out of compliance properties are not available to book on websites like Airbnb and VRBO. I had no idea that there's a notification that goes out when an ordinance changes, so that's great. But it's really easy for residents to report a property on Airbnb. So I would think that that's possible on the enforcement end and that coordination with these platforms is possible and it should be part of the playbook. And then on the other end, you need like dogged, thorough, and like a swift ability to levy the fines noted here. I know it says up to a maximum of $2,500 per day per violation. I wonder about the discretion and the room for discretion. Why is there up to that? What is a violation? Is that every day it's listed online without being in compliance, every day that it's occupied when it shouldn't be? Who's looking at that? Who's enforcing it? Who's proving it? So those are my main questions. I do think that they're figure outable in the next steps of this, but you need to actually be able to stop these from happening in the first place and quickly enforce the law if they do. And I just want to say that when we moved into our home, a family of 4 lived next door, and yes, we could hear them sometimes, and occasionally they would be loud, but we knew them, we knew their kids. We traded beers on the porch. We invited each other over to our backyards for gatherings, which we always gave one another a heads up about. We had a shared social contract, right? And that's what I think we are getting away from when we allow these things to take over in our town. These are the things that make our community, and we've got a great one. I personally do friends, family, neighbors. Some of them are here tonight. I really love living here. I think I contribute to being a resident here. And I love it. And other than what's happening next door, and even with it, really, I do count myself lucky to live here. So I want that to continue, and I thank you for your action on this.
Thank you.
So the $2,500 is the maximum municipal court fine. So it says up to, because that's the ceiling for the municipal judge. So
The judge is the one who.
the judge is the one who defines what the sentence is if someone is convicted in municipal court. So we've given the judge the discretion to levy up to the maximum fine.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments on this ordinance only? Yes.
Hi, I'm Amy from Waverly Place. Just a quick question in terms of the enforceability of this ordinance. Will there be any language on website or wherever that instructs, town residents on how to report or how to look into whether a place is licensed or operating legally? I feel like there's been some confusion in the past.
It's a form on code enforcement.
Our manager had to leave for a family emergency. That's really a question for him. Could I have, because he's the one who takes care of the community, he's actually working on hiring someone for specific community engagement. Could you leave your email address or something with the clerk, and we'll give it to Jim and we'll give him your question? I forgive you that we don't have the answer, or unless someone else up here has the answer.
Even just a shorter answer is that for code enforcement on the borough website, if you go under,
There's departments and you click on that and then you go over and then there's code. There's a form that you can fill out about any enforcement issue that you might have. That spans anything there's a regular thing that's happening with a car parking within so many feet of a stop sign. There's a store that's using plastic bags and there's a plastic bag ban. There's an Airbnb that's acting outside of jurisdiction. You can also report anonymously to that form, but this is available 24/7. It's on the code enforcement website for anything code. Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comments or question on this ordinance only?
If it was regular, you could.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-23?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
I wanted to make a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, I just wanted to appreciate the comments tonight, and I was here as a resident during the whole debate last year, probably around this time. I'm very happy that we're fixing this ordinance. I did hear some ideas tonight that I like, maybe possibly the limit on how many we have. And it's funny, one of the arguments about is a sort of financial thing, and I can imagine, and I've said this before, But it could be that Amy and I might need to rent a room at some point. Originally, the Airbnb was sort of, that's what it was, you know. I think it was an apartment in San Francisco. Somebody had like literally an air mattress, and I think that's how it all started. And it's a struggle financially to pay all of our bills. And I think this is if we find a way to do this so that it doesn't have these kind of impacts on our neighbors, it's a great thing. I think the owner occupied part is really critical for me. I do not want investment properties. I don't want a property that doesn't have somebody there 24/7, making sure that people there behave responsibly. I do not want what, I don't know her name said, where you don't know your neighbors. The idea is, sharing a part of your house with somebody who needs to come into Red Bank, whether a nurse is working for a week over at Riverview or somebody just visiting. Amy and I have been grateful to be able to stay in amazing places in the world, from Paris to Portland, Oregon, and people's homes, and we've been grateful for those opportunities. I do, if things don't work out as we hope, I would think we will revisit this and make changes, or maybe limit how many we'll allow, whatever it is. The biggest concern I have is I just have a general distrust for the Realty Association. Nothing personal for you guys back there, I guess, because I've been an environmental activist too long in my life. But in spite of that, I'm very excited that we're doing this, and thankful for all the work that has gone into it. Thank you, Mr. Attorney and Jim. I just hope the enforcement part of this is good, and I would love to see it placed on our website, that if you have a concern about anything, click here. And I do agree with a lot of testimony tonight from a number of people that our website needs a lot of work. I was struggling today to find the agenda for a resident over at the Red Bank Diner on my phone. I finally found the agenda and was able to send it to them. But I guess this is probably something that Jim is already working. The other thing is that Red Bank, as mentioned earlier, is, we have a downtown. We are a destination town. And I think, that's another wrinkle in this that I think makes a little more sense here, to try to find some compromise on Airbnbs or short-term rentals that make sense. Anyway, thank you for your patience, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, roll call, please.
If it makes you feel better, the Realtor guy said he doesn't like that it's just owner occupied, so,
Mayor, I'd like to make a comment as well.
Okay.
Sorry, my mic's off. Okay, now we're on. So, I do agree, and I appreciate all the comments regarding the Airbnb ordinances. And some of you are my neighbors right around the corner. Emily, nice to finally meet you. I've knocked on your door many times. And Lyndon and Frank, and I forgot your name, Steve? David, yes, great to meet you. See you again. Long story short, I'm going to vote yes on this ordinance. I do see where there is opportunity for tweaking. The reason why I'm voting for this is because it has a licensing procedure in place. It is something that's enforceable. So I don't want to delay that, because that I know about your situation as well. And I want to make sure that that gets enforced straight away. So if you can trust us for that, we'll do some of the tweaking, like the definition of a complaint. Yeah, we can always, fine tune it. So that's where I stand. I just wanted to share that. Yeah. Bertrand.
No, Nancy literally said what I would have said. Still ditto.
Ditto. Oh, I actually beat you.
Oh, all right, let's try this roll call.
Councilperson Brenda Jackus?
Yes.
Councilperson Kenneth Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilperson Tracy Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest?
Yes.
Councilperson Janone?
Yes.
Mayor Viviano?
yes.
Mayor Clement?
Yes.
All right,
Okay,
amen.
next up, and I hope this truly is helpful to you guys who've been dealing with some unpleasant situations. So 20 days from today, it's enforceable. Next up is a public hearing and adoption of 2024-24, amending Chapter 270 Cannabis of the Borough's revised general ordinances to implement a medical cannabis transfer tax. I think when the original ordinance was passed, we were not aware that we are able to take that 2%
Yeah, it was unclear.
It was unclear, but we got confirmation that we can also take it from medical cannabis, so we are taking it. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have any comment on ordinance 2024-24?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
It's actually from our director of our library. She asked me about this, and she sent an email to me, and I am the library liaison. She saw that it was on the agenda tonight, and she's just wondering, I know we haven't collected any taxes from it yet, right? But when we do, she's particularly interested in how the library could potentially benefit from this new revenue, especially for capital projects and similar initiatives. I wanted to bring that up.
So the way we're currently operating is that we don't know what the revenue is going to be from cannabis. We actually have no marker. What is that called when you put it in as a
Miscellaneous revenue.
miscellaneous revenue? Bingo, bango. So there really hasn't been much around that. I know the public conversation from the dais thus far has been it going back to tangible quality of life benefits for the borough, whether that be housing, parks. The library, if they want increased funding, could always go for a referendum as well. So that is a great option for them. If they need, more money, we could always, there's lots of, ways for them to pursue that. But there hasn't been any direct discussion about giving the library funding because we don't even know how much money.
Yeah.
It's.
I believe the first quarter of Monteverde opened this quarter, I believe. So I know that Tom has been kind of planning and asking them, but long story short, just for the public's benefit, how the borough tracks that. So a cannabis business like that has to file sales and use tax. So we basically take their quarterly sales and use tax return and then review it for the gross sales. And then we add our 2%, we give them their tax bill.
And that's only one retailer.
Right
out
now,
of
yeah.
And there's two others. There's only 3 licenses for retail and there's a cultivator. Also being taxed. So this is.
So the township of Neptune reported almost $800,000 in revenue from their 2 dispensaries. And they've been operating for a few years at this point. So that's obviously not year one, but this should generate money. And there's many mechanisms by which you can get to the library.
Yeah.
If the borough
but
chooses.
The library also has the mechanism of having a referendum if they need increased funding.
So.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Anyone else have any comments or questions on this? All right, can I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only?
I'll make such a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-24.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Guanatakis,
Yes.
Councilperson Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilperson Casey Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest,
Yes.
Councilperson Janone,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tridiano,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Okay, next up, an introduction for 2024-25, amending chapter 490-107, stormwater management and control. Can I have a motion to approve 2024-25 on introduction?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Guanatakis,
Yes.
Councilperson Cassidy.
Yes.
Councilperson Casey Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest,
Yes.
Councilperson Janone,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tridiano,
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes. Okay, there'll be a public hearing on this ordinance on July 11th. Next up is an introduction for 2024-26, bonding for Count Basie improvements. Can I have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-26 on introduction?
I'll make it.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Guanatakis,
Yes.
Councilperson Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilperson Casey Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest,
Yes.
Councilperson Janone,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tridiano,
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes. Next up is an introduction for 2024-27, bonding for TAP grant projects. I have a motion to approve 2024-27 on introduction.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilperson Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilperson Daisy Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest?
Yes.
Councilperson Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Juliano?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Portman?
Yes. Next up is an introduction for 2024-28 bonding for road improvements. I have a motion to approve 2024-28 on introduction.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilperson Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilperson Daisy Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest?
Yes.
Councilperson Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Juliano?
Yes.
Mayor Portman?
Yes, public hearing for that will be on May 23rd, as will the public hearing for 2024-27 will also be on May 23rd.
Wait,
Next up is introduction.
today's May 20th.
I'm sorry. Without July 11th? Or what would be the
Not in front of June.
June 11th, June 11th.
June 11th?
Fast.
June 11th.
June 11th, those are all should be for June 11th. Apologize for that. Next up is a
2024-29.
motion to introduce 2024-30 bonding.
No, 29.
I'm sorry, 2024-29 bonding for Marine Park improvements. Can I have a motion to approve 2024-29 on introduction?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Right, roll call, please.
Councilperson Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilperson Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilperson Daisy Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest?
Yes.
Councilperson Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Juliano?
Yes.
Mayor Portman?
Yes.
Well, that feels good.
Yes, finally, we will have our funding to start Marine Park. Public hearing for that will be on June 11th. Next up is an introduction for 2020.
June 13th, sorry.
Or June 13th. All right. We sure?
Yes.
All right, next up is introduction for 2024-30 bonding for the water and sewer utility. Can I have a motion to approve 2024-30 on introduction?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilperson Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilperson Daisy Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest?
Yes.
Councilperson Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Juliano?
Yes.
Mayor Portman?
Yes. Hearing for this will be on June 13th. And finally, an introduction of 2024-31, amending chapter 680, vehicles and traffic to prohibit the overnight parking of oversized vehicles on public streets and rights of way. Can I have a motion to approve 2024-31 on introduction?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mayor, can I make a quick comment?
Yeah.
So as was
Covered, one of the last meetings, and I think the borough attorney said it, very well, was just taking this approach bite by bite. And implementing what we can implement and going from there. So, you know, that was the takeaway I took from this was this is progress, but it's not the end. So that's why I'm comfortable moving forward with this. This is language that Captain Frazee, Acting Chief Frazee, stated is enforceable and will help alleviate many of the issues. So that's where we all stood with it. Anybody else got anything on that?
I do.
Go for it.
Well, tonight it seems like I'm a curmudgeon, but I'm looking through section 680-3 parking and item number 3. So this allows a person who has a truck to attach a trailer, they should be able to park. And I know that at our last meeting, we had some concerns about should this trailer be, should we limit it by length? And I'm wondering, how could we best address the issue? You know, is it by axle or?
I think that's why it's bite by bite. Like this isn't gonna cover those concerns. This covers the weight limit ones and some of the other concerns that the captain was saying would provide relief now. Because we weren't there on the other parts.
Yeah, we really don't have an answer to that question yet. So
Okay.
this stays short of that and goes to the oversized vehicles and then we are gonna go to the next step.
It's
We'll circle back to the trailers
Absolutely.
attached to vehicles.
Yes, and I know that the captain was looking into it and gonna give us last we spoke to, last meeting I had with him on this, he was going to come up with some ideas or talk to his traffic safety and give us some ideas. We really didn't have a firm answer on that, so we just left it congruent with the unhitched trailers at this moment.
Okay,
We'll stick with the oversized vehicles and then we'll deal with the trailers next.
okay, I'm okay with that for now. Thank you.
Just so we don't fall into analysis paralysis.
Correct.
Let's do what we can do.
Do we, did your motion already to approve?
I'll make a motion.
And I wanted to make a comment too, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
I think the motion and seconded already.
Hold on, I think.
I seconded, right?
Yep.
Yeah, obviously on my street, Locust Avenue, this is ongoing. I do have a concern about having trailers attached to trucks, but I know that we're gonna work on that. This seems to be a reasonable start and kind of like with Airbnb, obviously we need to change it as we learn through this process. I think it's all about being considerate to others. I want, and I appreciate many neighbors who run their businesses from their cars and trucks. But at the same time, we do have to limit, vehicles that are just absurd. And another note is that, vehicles have gotten so large. What was once a van seemed like a big car 20 years ago. And now a van actually on Locust Avenue looks kind of small. I can't believe I'm saying it, but we'll see how this goes. And maybe we may have to revisit it. And I want to thank everyone for all their work on this.
Anyone else?
I should also mention for the public benefit, we got a draft ordinance last time. You guys had a lot of comments. Dave was concerned about the overhanging stuff. Now that was kind of subjective. We talked about the taxis and Uber driver concerned about that. So we just, we made no stretch or oversized limousines. We addressed all the points that we talked about last time. Qualified the watercraft and really put it down to the basic stuff that we talked about next time before we add the next layer.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Bonakis?
Yes.
Councilperson Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilperson Davis Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilperson Forrest?
Yes.
Councilperson Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Triviano?
Yes.
Mayor Clifford?
Yes, there will be a public hearing for this ordinance on June 13th. Does anyone need to do any of the resolutions separately or can we do them on consent agenda?
No consent.
Everyone okay?
Can go consent.
Okay, then can I have a motion to approve resolution 24-125 through 24-141?
I'll make such a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on actually the earlier comments from Mr. Kaufman and others over in the back around the trying to find which number it is.
24-136 rank choice.
Yeah, ranked choice. Thank you very much. And actually, I served, you may recall, on the Charter Study Commission, and that was mentioned. And actually, this topic was talked about. I don't know if we formally talked about it or not, but my recollection is that having that option in the charter was just not an option under state law.
Right.
And the only way to get a charter that would have something like that is to have state legislation passed. And obviously, the Charter Study Commission, which was meeting in this room, we weren't going to go before the state legislature and have that passed. So in the form of government we picked, it wasn't an option. Now, one of the reasons I am voting yes for the resolution, and I have spoken with residents about this, is that we have in this form of government the option of runoffs. So here in particular, in Red Bank, this whole thing makes a lot of sense. Now, runoffs, we struggled with a little bit. We did include them in the form of government, and that is if there's like 30 people running and nobody has over 50%, there's a runoff, basically the top voters, the top half or whatever. I'm oversimplifying it, but there's problems with it. One is the election would happen like 3 weeks later. You have to run another election. I am familiar with towns that have had it, Hoboken and other places, and it does work, runoffs, but it does cost money and it makes everything very cumbersome. It's easy to understand. That's the one advantage it has. And kind of people understand, okay, nobody got a majority, so this top, half of the voter, candidates have a runoff. So, however, the nice thing about ranked choice is if the state legislature ever allows us to have it, if we wind up having 30 people run for council, we wouldn't have ranked choice, and then we wouldn't have to have a runoff, and the whole thing would be settled, election night, without the necessity of having a runoff, and the rather significant expense of having another election, not to mention all the electioneering and mailings and all that stuff. So I just wanted to comment, because you were kind enough to bring this issue up, that I think the ranked choice in particular in our town is a good fit with a form of government that we have embarked on for the last 9 months. So that's my comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
jumping into, go ahead,
I'll
David.
briefly add in that I'm neutral. But what I do like about this is that it puts the power in with the voters and the residents to actually say, here's how we want to have a ballot. And I have had conversations, this was brought to us by residents. We have a very vibrant group in town that is in support of it. And I'm just in support in the same way that we had the Charter Commission to empower the opportunity for people to vote for how they would like to actually vote. And like I said, I'm undecided. I may come one way or the other, but I do like the way this is authored. I do like the concept, and I agree with you about the cost savings on runoffs and how it fits with this form of government in particular, which does hold tremendous sway with me.
As a former member of the Charter Study Commission and the chair, one of the things that we did struggle with was runoffs, whether or not to do it, because we were concerned about the cost and the lack, and the fact that the number of voters who would vote in a second election would actually drop. And that's what the studies have shown. Ranked choice voting at the time was not available. I do remember going to one of your meetings and seeing some of the familiar faces there to get information on it. So because we didn't have that choice, I think, supporting the idea to study ranked choice voting or to put something, there are different types of ways that it can be implemented. And as Steve, as you suggest, we could take a look and, learn more about it in greater detail. And I do want to admit that when Hoboken did pass their trigger ordinance, I was one of the people that talked to council members individually and said, would you be interested in doing a trigger ordinance? Because again, the cost of a runoff is for a town like Red Bank, another $50,000. But if you have ranked choice voting, it's one period of time that people vote and then, it's done. So I supported when the concept of passing a resolution to support the state measure came about, I'm fully in support of it. So that's how we got this onto our agenda, by someone bringing up a proposal with a proposed resolution, and it made sense to us. And that's why we're here to vote on it. So thank you.
We good?
We're good.
Roll call.
Councilperson Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilperson Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilperson Stacey Blackwood?
Yes.
Person Forrest?
Yes.
Councilperson Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trigiano?
Yes.
Mayor Portman?
Yes. All right, can I have a motion to open up the floor for public questions and comments?
I'll make such a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask, any residents, if they have a concern, we just allow the residents to come up first if you have a concern. But of course, you can always come up, Georgina, you're a resident, yeah.
This fall.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Can you keep time?
I will.
Thank you. Hi, Georgina, just see your.
Come back.
He has to use the restroom.
Okay. I can do it right here, are we good?
Oh. Hi, Georgina.
Just state your name and address, please.
You're the new mayor, okay.
Just for this moment.
Okay, Georgina Shanley. 115 Harding Road. Red Bank.
Always a pleasure to see you.
I'm here tonight, surprise, surprise, to beg and implore the city council to pass the permanent ceasefire resolution so that no more civilians will be killed. The hostages will be released, both Palestinian and Israeli, and full humanitarian aid, oil, water, food for all of the people of Gaza.
Gaza is the size of about Philadelphia. And already 35,000 people, over 35,000 people have been killed. Why? Why? Ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. That's 3 times the population of Red Bank. It does concern us. It concerns the people of Red Bank. We're spending our tax money on this money that could be spent on childcare, on poverty, on education. And here we are giving billions and billions and billions just to have these people killed. And already the International Criminal Court has called for the arrest of Mr. Netanyahu and Gallant. And soon it'll be, and also some of the Hamas leaders, soon it'll be Biden and Blinken. Inshallah. We hope, because what they're doing is complicit. And I just, you know, I was at a protest in Jackson last Sunday where we were calling for Palestinian rights. And the Orthodox Jewish community were on the other side. And they were shouting things like, do you know the IQ of the average Palestinian? It's 60, which means that they can barely understand what anybody is saying. And they have been dehumanized. And now they're being treated like they have no soul, no feelings, and just killed. We see the prison in Israel where Palestinian prisoners are naked in the bed with shackles on their hands and arms and feet and blindfolded with diapers, being fed through straws. I mean, please, does it matter to any of you when you can take some kind of a stance and have some backbone and pass a resolution that can be sent to Biden and the elected officials who are voting for all this aid to say enough is enough? And I'll give you one example of a man who was just killed. His name is Rifat Al-Aral. He was a 44-year-old man, 6 children. He was a professor. So they talk about a low IQ Palestinian. So this man is a writer, poet, professor, human rights activist. He was born September 23rd, 1979, and he died December 6th, 2023, 44 years of age. He was the first professor to teach Hebrew literature at the Islamic University. He taught Shakespeare. He told his students to resist occupation, not with violence, but with intellect. With intellect. And in 2014, 30 of his relatives were killed in a bombing raid by the Israelis. They have no weapons. These people have no weapons. He said the only weapon he had was a pen marker. And if the troops came in the door, he would attack them with the pen marker. So finally it caught up with him. He did a very good op-ed for New York Times on the effects of war on children. He also, in 2023, after October 7th, he was interviewed by BBC, Democracy Now!, ABC, and just weeks before he was killed, he said on CNN that his family has nowhere else to go. So they were holding up in the UN school, and he was getting phone calls from Israeli contacts saying, we know where you are, and we're going to bomb you. So he didn't risk everybody else being killed. I know there's a time limit, but tonight it seems like it's laissez-faire. So he went to seek cover in an apartment owned by his family. And he was targeted. He was killed on December 6th, 2023. His brother, his nephew, his sister-in-law, 3 of her children died. And a few weeks later, his eldest daughter gave birth to a son that he never met. So I'd like to read his final poem.
Is there someone else that can read, Georgina? You've already gone for 5 minutes.
No, well, it's selective enforcement of time. I timed some of these people. 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
Read the poem.
Okay, let me read the poem, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. It's If I Must Die. If I must die, you must live to tell my story. To sell my things, buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite. My kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale. So even in the very end, he's looking for hope and looking for life and looking for love. And what are we all complicit doing? We're giving our tax money. And people like that killed. All of the academics killed. No universities left in Gaza. Shame, shame, shame.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Goulet, 25 Cedar Street, two things. One, what's the status or what's the timeline to get the playground up and going at Count Pixie Park? The playground that's getting redone, what's the strategy?
You know what, I'm sorry, do you have that? I think it's a question for Jim.
I don't, I know that the project was delayed because there was some electric underground.
Yeah,
That
there was
has to be-
conduits up and running.
The conduits, and that delayed the project extensively, so they had to address that, and that's what the major delay was. But the last report we had, I mean, they even posted on Facebook was that they were forging ahead, but I know that was a big.
And unfortunately, Jim would probably have the answer to that question. Yeah.
Number two, at one point in the meeting, after I got the lecture about how we're all supposed to basically call in and report things, it was just kind of funny how all of you guys are quiet when there was the animosity between two other residents about the short-term rentals. You know, you see what happens when you kind of go back and forth with people. That's why I kind of want the town to enforce it, because you saw residents going back and forth there. You don't want the animosity with neighbors. That's my point of why, you know, to some degree, I'm not a traffic person. I mean, I know the basic rules. I know you can't park in front of a hydrant, is my point. I just don't want to see neighbors get upset like they are here.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Sue, like Bonnie just told me that she got a text from Terrence that the playground should be done tomorrow.
Oh.
That's what we heard, so.
Here we go. I don't think we can. I'm Julie from Washington Street and a Red Bank resident, and I'm a retired IT professional and also a bit of an ex-historian. And Georgina spoke very eloquently and at length, and I'm going to make it short. Looking at what the collective West, of which our country is the leader, you can see the history from World War II to now. In World War II, the phrase and the slogan was never again. It's a good slogan. It's a slogan we can all get behind. Slogan now is, or the phrase now is, well, it depends. And that's hypocrisy. I think I would urge you to pass the resolution for ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Dr. Steve Fenichel, Harding, 115 Harding Road, Red Bank. And I just been thinking as to why do human affairs seem to create such antagonisms. Rodney King certainly was aware of this with his famous musing of why can't we just get along? Thinking about this, what immediately comes to mind is an inherent domination of one group of another. Chickens, birds in general, have a pecking order. And they pick anyone who's lower on that than themselves. Gaza, Palestinian massacres is more serious than this. And why is Prime Minister Netanyahu so intent on revenge for October 7th, when this tragedy, terrible tragedy, has been recurring before that date, after that date, and unless something is done ad infinitum. It's as Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Today, 2 congressmen in the States introduced a bill to support American citizens fighting in Israeli occupation forces. And in this bill, they give a benefit from 2 federal protections to U.S. service members fighting in Israel. Over 20,000 are there right now fighting. And as the Israelis like to say, they're defending Israel from Hamas terrorists, risking their lives for the betterment of our ally. By this legislation, we do everything possible to support these heroes who are standing with Israel, fighting for freedom, combating terrorism. It provides active duty members with different financial safeguards, such as reduction in interest payment rates, postponement of civil court matters, protection from eviction and termination of leases. This connection with Israel is morphing into much more than anyone could have ever imagined. There needs to be a real discussion in this country as to how acceptable these daily additions are worth protecting by the people of this country. I, for one, have a very sore feeling in my gut about this mercenary creeping of American soldiers being used in Israel. Where will it stop? As a Jewish man, a person of conscience, a Red Bank resident, I appeal to you to do the right thing, pass this resolution.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Anthony Sotero, 135-137 Oakland Street. I have fun stuff to talk about. I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but through Sotero House and the Red Bank Public Library.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah, we were awarded a grant from the Monmouth County Historical Association to do 4 immersive talks at the library this year. The first one's coming up June 13th. So really love for you guys to come out and see that and learn about Red Bank's history. And also the 5K. Love to see people there. I know it's early in the morning, but council members, if you could be there, Billy, we expect you to be there. Announcing the watermelon shirt or.
As long as you're not expecting me to be running.
I want a different fruit on your shirt this year.
All right.
But anyway, I just wanted to. What's that?
He loves watermelon.
He's got an awesome watermelon shirt. I got a picture I'm gonna post soon with you and your watermelon shirt.
And just wanted to let everybody know, I was at the library, I think, maybe it was for their it was for the anniversary. And Anthony had set up it's almost like being in a video game, but the game was Red Bank Circa. What was the year?
Early 1900s.
Early 1900s. So you can walk around Red Bank in the construct and see what the town looked like. And it was super cool. So I encourage everybody to go check that event out.
Yeah, super excited to share more with you guys this time. So very
great.
That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Barbara.
Since Barbara Boas, 135 Branch Avenue, since the funding has been broken, the Red Bank Education Foundation is sponsoring a trivia night. And it is on, I told, we had some glitches that happened yesterday. And it's on for June 5th at Triumph. Go on our website and ticket. We can only fit 60 people in that place. It's a lot of fun. And the kids deserve money. All of it goes to the kids. And I look forward to seeing you all there because there's a bunch of guys that go there and they think they're smarter than everybody. Red Line Council not put a table together and prove that they're not. I love.
What's the time?
Challenge.
What's the time of the event?
It is, I believe, 7 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Bought 2 tickets.
Yeah, thank you.
Bought 2 tickets this week. You and Joel.
No, and
Here we go.
poor Kathy went away to Paris and she came over and gave me a check. So she's coming, you know. So we have fun. We have a lot of people coming and I hopefully the rest of you can come. So it really is a lot of fun.
I think I'll leave my team name at the band Books. That was my team name last time.
Right.
I like that name. I think I'll keep it.
It is fun.
Yes, very fun.
It is fun.
Hopefully I'll see you then. Maybe I'll see you before, but.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Yes.
Barry Bender again. Just want to thank you folks for moving that first reading forward. And we're working on, we do things, I'm the live outreach coordinator for New Jersey. And we've done events throughout the state. One that we do quite frequently is called Rank the Beers. It's a way of educating people in general on how ranked choice voting goes. We're talking about possibly doing one here in Red Bank. We'd love to do one here in Red Bank. And we're talking about doing Rank the Bagels. So we're looking for a venue to hold that in. So if anyone has any advice for us, it would be greatly appreciated. And again, thank you so much for moving this forward. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, we have 3 hands online. Oh.
Okay.
Greg, you wanna?
Yes.
First up, we have Gabriella G. Gabriella G, please, please state
Hi,
your
can
name,
you hear me?
yes, and we can hear you, and speak up.
Okay. My name is Gabriella Green. I'm from Howell. I couldn't be there in person today, but I still wanted to leave a comment in regards to Georgina's proposal. Earlier today, I saw a photo. All you could see was rubble with a tiny baby's hand sticking out of it. The nails were chipped and dusty. It breaks my heart unbelievably to have to sit here and imagine the little tiny baby trying to dig itself out of the rubble, feeling desperate, panicked, suffocating, and then silence. People are dying every single day. It is unjustifiable cruelty, inhumanity, evilness. All of it being paid for with our US tax dollars. We are all complicit in this, and those that have any semblance of power to help in some way, shape, or form are even more complicit than the average taxpayer. We have been coming here since January to plead with you to put pressure on Congress to call for a ceasefire. Since January, countless amounts of people have died, have been injured, have been traumatized. It will take at least 80 years to rebuild the entire Gaza Strip. I don't understand why you won't vote on this. It calls for the release of hostages, and it calls for an end to genocide. How can you sit there with any form of power with a way to make a genuine impact and not do this? It truly breaks my heart. It is almost June now. It has been over 6 months that these people have been living through this indescribable hell. How many more people have to die before you move to action? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Sarah F. Sarah, you have the floor.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. My name is Sarah F. I'm from Hopedale, Monmouth County, New Jersey. So I also wanted to amplify and support and kind of urge for signing on to the proposal that Regina made. I was in person at the last meeting, and unfortunately I couldn't come in person today, but I still want to leave a comment. And I saw many of you kind of show your support to some of us that were, raising our voices for Palestine. And a lot of you guys kind of showed your sympathy to us, which we really appreciated. But the reason why we come here isn't to raise awareness. We're coming here, just like what Gabby said before. We're coming here because we know that you all can make a change. You guys have that ability as being elected officials of Red Bank, a progressive town in Monmouth County. As someone that prides themselves in being from Monmouth County, I always looked up to Red Bank, and I really saw my town kind of following in the steps of Red Bank. If Red Bank kind of leads the way and calls for a ceasefire, the way that the way for other towns in Monmouth County to also follow in their footsteps, that's something that could genuinely lead to change. As many people have said before, so many people have been dying in Rafah, in Gaza, in parts of Palestine, and this has been something that's been going on since January. I have students, I'm currently a teacher at Monmouth County, and I have students that come up to me and they tell me how they can't even pay attention to school, pay attention to classes because of what's happening in Palestine. And this is something that genuinely makes an impact on American children, and these children are our future, right? So even if you can't bring your heart to sympathize with the Palestinians overseas, at least sympathize with children, the future of the United States. They're genuinely heartbroken. We're all heartbroken, and it's just extremely disheartening and disappointing to the fact that it's been 6 months and we've been urging the Council of Red Bank to call for a ceasefire. That's all I would like to say. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you.
Excuse me, next up, we have Vegan Zarabian. Forgive me if I mispronounced your name, but you have the floor, and if you could correct me, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, Vegan Zarabian, 185 Maple Avenue. I'm here in solidarity with Georgina and her colleagues and some of the statements that was made between the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. I urge the council and implore the council to vote and pass on the resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir? We have no further hands, Mayor. Okay. Yes.
Stephen Hank, 35 Branch Avenue. I would urge the council, as it continues to be besieged by certain citizens and citizens, I urge the council to question those who are besieging the council to do something. Why they want that done? They come, they say, seeking a resolution, which, as I understand, it does not exist. There is no such resolution. Ms. Shanley did present material to the council, but the council has not adopted that resolution, as best I know. Is that correct? Yes. So there is no resolution. So there's no resolution to be supported or denied. So I would ask the council to clarify what it is that people are besieging. What exactly is it that they want?
From my understanding is they would like us to adopt the resolution that Georgina wrote up and gave to us. We're pretty sure that's.
Yeah,
the
ceasefire all around. And yet, some of the folks have come, which is understood to be in support of Palestine and possibly Hamas, I don't know. But that has been a concern of mine from the very beginning. Also, I'd like to know where else these resolutions are being sent. They certainly need to be sent to Israel, to Palestine, to Washington, and possibly other places. But I would like the council to be responsive and ask some questions of the folks who are asking you over and over and over to do something. I am not asking you to do anything. To discover clearly what it is that people are wanting you to do and why, when you don't do it, or when I don't support it, I'm accused of being in concert with people who are committing genocide, which I reject. But that's the accusation. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Alan Hill, 64 Clarence Street. I remind Mr. Hecht that this is a two-way street. I haven't come here today to actually speak about the Gaza situation. I have done in the past. If Mr. Hecht wants to know my qualification for actually speaking on that, I'll be very glad to tell you and tell Mr. Hecht what my motivation is. I'll be very glad to do that. What I'm not glad to do is sit here and have people, and this has been done elsewhere in this meeting, come out here and make implications by hearsay, and this council prepared to put up with it. You know, so please, you know, believe that people come here. You know, we could be sat home just watching TV. We could be down the park. We could be doing all sorts of things. We do not have to come here and basically to in the end be insulted for our motivations by other people in the community without being called to those people being called to account. Nobody here has impugned Mr. Hecht's reasons for ever speaking. Don't do it to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No one online, Mayor.
Okay, I have a motion to close the public comment.
I'll make such a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Council comments, Christina, you got anything?
Just really quickly wanted to thank everyone who's come today and give their opinions on a whole number of things. It's always really helpful to understand. Also, I'm just wanting to have a quick moment of gratitude, considering what we were able to do today. I think we tackled a number of things that a lot of us have been thinking about for a long time, and it's a privilege to be able to act on those short-term rentals. I know a number of us have been following this, owning our opinion well before we were council people, and finding the right balance there. It's really a privilege to be able to put that forward, and thank you to everyone who helped put that together. Same thing, you know, maybe little notice, but the bond work for Marine Park, I think that's a big deal, and being able to move that a step forward. So yeah, just thankful for that. Even the discussion and being able to put forward the things that our feelings about the vision for the downtown. All kind of big things here, so wanted to just express that.
Thank you, David.
I'd just like to briefly express my sympathies to the family of CJ Laverette, a good man and a very good family that stretches very wide throughout this community, his cousins and everyone. Secondarily, in mind of that, we have Memorial Day on Monday. Firefighter services are at 10 at 90 Monmouth, and then at the Old Borough Hall, there's 11. I attend annually and have for a long time, and it's always a lovely affair. And this year it's a little more personal, unfortunately. But Barbara, I'm not making your event. I have a meeting at the Hook and Ladder on June 5th. So, sorry, the kids are gonna have to, the kids can come down and get a fire lesson.
You can send a check, tell them, Barbara, right? So.
That's it, though. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks.
Hit me up for money.
What a quote. Ditto to what Christina said about the amount of work that we are putting, that we're getting through and trying to make it as holistic as possible. Continuing along that line, the Environmental Commission Green Team submitted their latest updates to Sustainable Jersey for certification. And through Sustainable Jersey, they do have some actions that do benefit communities. One of them is integrating health and municipal decision-making, and the borough is working on that. We have Laura, who's taken the training, and again, it's developing a checklist and finding a way to make presentations as well as to implement that so that we do make, whenever we do have decisions to make, that we are considering all determinants of health, is a word. And the other one that we are working on, I did speak to Jim as we're going through the actions. And for those who who've known me for a while, there is a deadline, and then I sort of go around and nag people to get what we need done. But one of the things that Jim fully agreed that we should be looking at is to update our complete streets policy for complete and green streets. And we're looking at this submission that incorporates having a community of employees and residents to help make changes that will improve our streets for pedestrians, or as I told Jim, our MVPs, our most vulnerable population, which are children and seniors. And if I personally have experience where my mom used a mobility scooter, and if she can safely get around town, I would consider that a safe street. As a child can safely get around town, that would be well. David has signed on for me, and I think I can lure Christina to be part of that group to help us as well. So that's Shade Tree has nothing to report. One more thing I want to share about ranked choice voting. There are 18 plus municipalities that have runoff, so that would give them an opportunity to take a look. There's 62 jurisdictions within the United States that do have ranked choice voting, and there are many different ways to implement that. And that was my quick search this week as soon as I came back from vacations, realizing that we're going to have this on the agenda. So 2 states have it for federal elections, which will be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. And again, thank you all for being here. I know it's late, and have a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Ben.
Thank you, Mayor. Guess I'll start. Yeah. I get, Mr. Heck is wondering about our engagement with the Gaza discussion that presidents and others have been here to discuss, and there has been some dialogue, actually. I mean, I don't feel like I need to add any more than I've already said quite a lot here, and I don't really want to repeat all the things that I had with dialogue on this. I'm not ready to make a motion and give the what they want, and I have expressed why. So I just want you to know that, since you basically, that's how I was taking your questions. Why weren't we engaging? I think the mayor is correct. They want a resolution. So now on the other thing, I serve as a liaison to our schools for the council, and I want to thank Mayor Portman and Christina, Councilwoman Christina, and Laura for joining me in some of these recent activities. One was to Red Bank Regional High School for, I don't know if I got the name right, Councilwoman Janona, Equity and Justice program. They've got a big partnership over there. The board president asked us to attend, and so we went. It was a well-attended meeting of Red Bank Regional over in Little Silver. So we were there for that. Hopefully it will lead to good things. And then the other night, we were at the Red Bank Borough Public Schools final strategic meeting. And I think that was actually very productive and interesting discussion. And so I'm glad we were all well represented there. I don't remember such representation when I was on the school board 5 years ago when it was previously done, but anyway, so I just wanted to make that comment. And I have a few announcements from Parks and Rec. By the way, our meeting is next week. So you already did one, Councilman Cassidy, so I don't need to do but I will mention that we have a Red Bank Pride in the Park on Saturday, June 8th. Rain date is the 9th. Riverside Gardens Park, 12 to 3. And we have the 4th annual Juneteenth celebration on Sunday, the 16th, rain or shine, Johnny Jazz Park, and there's a march at noon from Pilgrim Baptist. Also, we have room in our summer basketball, fall recreation soccer, and summer sports camps. So go to our website or call Red Bank Parks and Rec for more information about that. And I think that concludes my remarks. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Laura.
I wanted to report from the animal welfare. So we had Yappy Hour this weekend, which went very well. We had a huge turnout. Thanks for everyone who came. We were able, between that and the weekend before, where we stood in front of Fence and Feathers, to get 250 pounds of cat and dog food that we donated to lunch break. And they also made $250 at the lunch break table at Yappy Hour. So that was a big success. As Bob mentioned tonight, Bob Zuckerman, looking at doing it a couple more times because it was such a big success. People would like coming down with their dogs. Thank you for all that attended that. The library, the update from the library is their elevator has been dismantled and put back together. The doors are on it, but it's still not working because I didn't realize they couldn't just replace the whole library. It had to be dismantled, and then there was an open shaft. So the library did close for a few days during that time because it was pretty unsafe. And now they're rebuilding it and the doors are on it. So hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, they're gonna have an elevator quickly. And then the other thing that she wanted to mention from the library board meeting was that they're having them June 15th, the 100th birthday bash at the library. The kickoff, summer kickoff that goes along with their 100th birthday bash. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who came tonight. Thank you.
Katie, what do you got?
So I wasn't prepared to talk about CJ passing, but CJ was a member of my house 9-6, and I'm best friends with his son Bobby. He's my captain. And I just, I don't know if he'd be rolling his eyes or laughing at me for even talking about it right now, to be honest. But CJ was always really, 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 really supportive of everybody, like from the get, like just from the beginning, I became a firefighter. I remember he bought me this sticker that just said Women in Fire on it. And he was like, here you go. And it was really weird because the morning of the funeral, I was in my closet, which is a mess because obviously I spend a lot of time in the town. I don't really keep my closet super organized. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I really wish I had that sticker so I could wear it in my dress uniform cap to the funeral. And I swear on my life, I picked up my hat in my closet, which is a tornado. And it was right there. It's always a big loss when you lose people who are there for really formative moments for you, especially when you're going into a fire department and, everybody's not really sure of what your motivations are or why you're doing what you're doing or why you're becoming a firefighter. And he was always right there. He was spotting my foot when I was climbing up the truck. He was always just really supportive, and he was always like, you got it, girl. He loved music. Really, he went to concerts all the time. Great guy, great loss. And my heart goes out so much to Bobby, who's captain of 9-6 currently. From Animal Welfare Committee, Laura just reported on the dog days. That was great. Excited to hear from River Center as their liaison that they're going to look to make Yappy Hour, a more regular event. And then from Community Equity Engagement Committee, they've really been hands-on with making the Red Bank Classic 5K more accessible. So in 2022 and 2023, there was only one physically challenged racer, and that's increasing to 3 participants in 2024. Special shout out to Callie, your neighbor, Greta. You know, he really led the efforts to increase participation. He purchased a chair on his own for a member of CR Fit and Wellness who will be using it to participate. And he's also volunteering to push another participant in a chair, which was acquired through the New Jersey state grant. Beyond that, Broadwalk season has kicked off. There's still more improvements to come on it, as Bob was sharing earlier. And just excited to see all the work that's going there. When we move to manager's report, he left his report here. I messaged and asked him if I can read it, so I'll read the manager's report after your comments, Mayor.
Thank you. Just 2 things I want to share. Last night I went to the Monmouth County Workforce Development Board Awards Dinner and accepted an award on behalf of the Parks and Rec Department. It was the Youth Employment Partnership, May 22nd, 2024, for their untiring and selfless effort on behalf of the County of Monmouth and its citizens. I think the number was, over the last few years, we've employed 60 young people in the Parks Department. So anyway, it was pretty cool to go and accept that award on behalf of the borough. And then the other thing I wanted to share, I was at Yappy Hour with my dog and I was chatting with a resident, and the resident was saying, do you know that they rent out equipment now at the library? You can borrow, not rent, you can borrow not just equipment. He said he had his daughter's birthday party.
Yeah.
They took out the karaoke machine, the badminton set.
The cotton candy maker.
What's that?
They
The
have-
cotton candy maker?
Candy maker.
Yeah, so it's a really, I mean, the library was already amazing, you know, the seed bank is amazing, but it's great to watch our library kind of evolve with the town and the needs of the town and meeting it, so. I was proud for that to be my library. Anyway, that's all I had to say. You were gonna read the manager's report, Nate.
Yep. All right. May 23rd, 2024, Borough Manager Report. Water rate study. After a year-long study that was previously authorized, the borough is beginning to zero in on a path forward for the water utility. This has concluded a combined effort with Ingenuity, the borough's utility engineer, and CDM Smith Engineers as a consulting firm for Ingenuity. CDM Smith has analyzed the financial report of this project, while Ingenuity has gathered the necessary information to detail a robust capital improvement plan over the next 10 years. Read report excerpt page 4. So this is from the Borough of Red Bank Capital Improvement Plan. Central to our financial planning considerations, the Borough of Red Bank has maintained its utility rates the same for nearly a decade, requiring strategic financial planning. The primary objective of this capital improvement plan revolves around projecting water and sanitary sewer utility expenses for the next decade. This CIP will also determine rates for the initial 3 years and a plan for rate increases over the next 5 years. The initial phase will meticulously assess the adequacy of existing rates in relation to current expenses and how those rates may change over time. Just today, the borough manager, myself, I was there, sat and analyzed the data presented by CDM Smith in order to determine the path forward, as water utility rates have not been increased in almost a decade. Unfortunately or fortunately, the task of addressing the unsustainable rate structure while replacing and improving aged and aging infrastructure is now the responsibility of this governing body. During the 2024 budget presentation, CFO Tom Seaman addressed the need to plan for future water rate changes and prepare for the proposed capital improvement plan. Over the next few weeks, we will be disseminating information related to the water rate study and plans for providing an informational forum, which will be held in the middle of June. I will also invite Ingenuity to the first June council meeting to discuss the water rate study's main areas of interest. So that's on that. At the request of the mayor, deputy mayor Tridiano, and I know we heard from other people in the governing body, I think everybody, I will be working with Captain Frazee over the next few weeks to discuss holding a bike and pedestrian forum for the end of June to discuss areas of concern for the public and updates about road projects and future crossing improvements. I know I can add to that myself, the mayor, and the manager have been in contact with Commissioner Ross Lasidra, which will be a necessary meeting to take place for us to work on anything in a county capacity. So that has moved forward. National Public Works Week recognition. Oh, so the manager had a barbecue for the Public Works employees. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but he actually made that Public Works round feel homey. Which is, I think, a testament to his leadership and the new employee wellness campaign and everybody participating in it. Jim was out there barbecuing for all the Public Works employees. Everybody was sitting, relaxing, having fun. I got to stop by and it was a very beautiful sight. And I really enjoy seeing the camaraderie and the leadership that our new manager, he wouldn't say this in his report, but I have to say it, that he's really giving to the employees. There's a marked difference in the environment in this place with having HR and having a manager who constantly is going out of his way to show people that he cares about them. So yeah, thank you to our Public Works employees during this week. And that is all we had submitted.
Okay, I believe we have an executive session, don't we also, right?
Yes, we have executive session to discuss the personnel matter and the labor attorney will be joining us.
All right, so can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
Second, I'm gonna take a 3-minute
All in
break.
favor?
Aye.
Can I just say something? What about remembering Frank Looney sentiment? Young man.
We had
a moment of silence.
We had a moment of silence.
Silence at the beginning.
Yeah, right after the pledge. Yes,
We need a,
Just
yeah, we're gonna take a break, give everyone a moment to clear the room and then we'll go.
for the public's benefit, we'll take about 30 minutes in this executive session. We will not be taking any action after executive session.
yeah, I know what it's about. Yeah. Minutes. Mhm. I'm glad you said
Everyone.
Corrado.
See how it's all going down.
So
What I should, Frank, what I should have mentioned is invite the whole town out to watch your daughter play tennis because that's the best, the 3-year-old.
That's what I mean, I,
She's the cutest.
it's been, she's taken advantage of a couple of parks in Mexico.
I don't know.
Do we have to count in? Well, that's the track, well, he wasn't a track, I don't think he resumed. Anybody can watch this, right?
What would you say? Like, was this like the usual amount of fireworks that Frank got?